dog doing? Yeah. Yeah. That irritation from you are. Maybe not. I'm happy with it, but it's a that's knowing vocabulary. That's the word. It is. Well, I don't want to assume because people are fucking trucking. When my head in the air, John, you turn that on? You don't know? Okay, turn it out. It was here when I got here. Project I mean, come on. I mean, I'm ready to pump out some jams. So what it is actually a fun afterwards. So, I like that idea. You know, I think it's all- but that- You're gonna have a disco thing? Oh, okay. I used to wear bell bottoms and high classic too. David did too. Bell bottoms and platform shoes during the disco era. 70s. No, you grew up in the late 60s, 70s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, how old are you? 8 years older than me? No, you're not that old. I'm 63. Huh? You're born in 55. 62. Back when life was good. Food was better. We minded our parents.
So, I still listen to Seeger and CCR, Credence in it.
Yeah.
Oh, he left already?
He said he was gonna be here for this, I assume that's where he is.
Yeah. Yeah, Christoph was graduating
Okay.
Sunday, I believe, Saturday.
Call the meeting to order. Item 1B, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, free, and justice for all.
Item number 2, open forum. The council will allow Lincoln residents and or Lincoln taxpayers to comment prior to council action on agenda items. Individuals wishing to be heard by the council will be recognized by the council chair. The individual must identify themselves to the council by first and last name and or business owner. After identifying themselves, the speaker may make brief comments regarding items on the agenda that do not have a public hearing. Council chair may set a time limit on the length of public comment and or time limit for individual speakers. Start on this half of the room. Yep. Go.
Bill Chubbuck, Lincoln. I just wanted to, what I think is a misstatement in the Lincoln News last week. I had the privilege of serving as select person for 3 terms and assessor in Enfield. And it stated that all of Mr. Sanderson's work was for naught. And as long as he assessed last November, that can be put into the books. Well, now you put it into the computer. When I was doing it, you had to handwrite it into the commitment book. But that can be put in right up until the day that the council does the commitment. So all of those properties can be on this next tax bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the side?
I'm Kim Bogie. Parents of example, but anyway, I'm a taxpayer in the community, and like many residents, I understand the budget is tight and difficult to keep tax paid. But as a taxpayer, I believe one of the most important things my tax to support is public safety. When I pay my taxes, I expect that if my health is firefighters will respond quickly. If a loved one has a medical emergency, I will be there. If my family needs help or protection, our police department will have the resources to answer that call. Police, fire, and EMS are not registered. They are a foundation of state and functioning community. Setting these budgets may be risk creating much greater costs tomorrow. And longer response times, reduced services, increased danger to residents and first responders alike. As taxpayers, we invest in what matters most. I believe that the health, safety, and lives of our residents should remain one of our highest priorities, and I urge the council to protect these taxpayers and continue supporting the dedicated men and women of our community. The other thing, 2 things that I wanted to say is 1, my tax bill is going up, and you want to take away taxes. And 2, I would love the 2021 budget. That can't happen. It's just not possible.
On the side of the room.
After reading some of the comments on Facebook and making some of them, I decided to come back. My name is Joshua Sennett. I'm a resident of Lincoln, been here a resident since 2020. It pains me that I find myself here tonight, but I see the discussion may be colorful. Here we sit, the community, the 4 horsemen, and the 3 stooges, trying to determine what the future of Lincoln could look like. Option B is to cut spending. Any responsible adult would find a way to limit spending when faced with the lack of funds. They set priorities, what is important, what is less important, and what is frivolous and not productive. These choices are all value driven. What you find value in, I might not. What I find value in, you might not. On the community side, however, we have a plethora of differences on what we value, what we hold dear, and see as a benefit despite the cost. law enforcement, firefighters, education, etc. All of these things are sacred to the community. Things that we cannot or should not be touched. To do so would be seen as not respecting those men and women who have taken up that mantle of service. And for the most part, I agree. I mean, I think we can all agree, right? Option B is to increase revenue. I love that euphemism. All that means you're raising taxes. We can spread our taxes out by seeking state grants, loans, or working with organizations that are funded through state appropriations, or by shifting the cost share of these services to the wider communities that use them. Either way, we're raising taxes. Where does the state get the money from? It gets money from our taxes. Where do these other communities that we want to offset our costs get their money? From other people's taxes. Option B, part 2, is regaining revenue that was lost through poor policies of previous administrations. Many of us here tonight are keenly aware of the failures of previous council members when it comes to moderate revenue stream through taxation with up-to-date information. I believe by doing so, this will generate some of the revenue, but nowhere near what will be needed if we continue to spend like we have been. So we must ask ourselves as a community, do we really want to cut spending? Or are we willing to pay more in taxes? Our budget's tight. I've looked at it and I've gone through it. I know where I'd cut. That's me. I'm not a councilman. But the choice is there. Overall, though, as a community, are we going to say enough is enough? Enough of the name calling, enough of the back and forth, enough of the don't touch this, touch that? Are we willing to sit down, to listen to each other, to work together in meetings such as this, to see whether it is better to cut programs, which in turn would cut personnel, or whether we are willing to give more in taxes, or whether we want to chase down businesses that could move in here, encourage corporations to invest in the community and broaden our tax base through those methods. These are all important discussions. And they're discussions that should be had and done respectfully, and I hope we as a community and we as counselors can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Are we on item 2 or?
We're on item 2. Right, if you have something to say during the discussion of the budget, we could say it there too. Yep. Yeah, but his comments had kind of intertwined between both, so it's. Yep. Yep. Anybody else on this side?
John Trask, resident of Lincoln. Mr. Ireland, I'm still waiting for that new picture on your Facebook post. Can anyone here tell me what the workers' comp rate is? Our workers' comp insurance going up or down this year coming up? Anybody? Is there any reduction on this budget that's proposed for legal fees? Because I know we'd like to reduce the attorney that we have fighting for our town every year at the legislature to keep the tribes from taking the Penobscot River bank to bank. We pay him every year. We cannot cut that legal fee. Does anyone know what our electric utility rates will be for the town next year? We need to know these numbers. Oil and gas, we know what we're gonna be paying. To cut $2 million out of the budget, we don't even know what our insurance rates will be for our vehicles and our buildings. Does anyone know what average cost of a fire chief for a community this size costs and what we're actually paying for our fire chief? We're getting a darn good bargain. And does anyone know how much our homeowners will go up should we cut our fire department? Have we even looked at that? Because that's what's gonna happen. Appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you.
Barker. For weeks, department heads and budget committee members gave their time to follow the January 12, 2026 directive from the council to create a zero-based budget. In my research, a true zero-based budget takes a transition of 3 to 5 years, and it's not done in 1 year. Councilor Street asked at the January 12th meeting if this is essentially the same process as we currently have. To which interim manager Bullen replied, yeah, it is basically the same process, but this will lengthen. The budget committee members went line by line by line. All the zero-based procedure with all the department heads, which ultimately lengthened the process. They did what they thought was right. The FY 2027 zero-based budget presented at the May 26th budget workshop was discussed by each department head with Councilors Moisen, Street, and Ireland. Only 3. There were discrepancies that were addressed. Town Manager Schaefer was asked to correct those discrepancies and present the budget to the councilors before tonight's meeting, which I hope he did. Then Councilor Ireland takes it upon himself to create his own version of a zero-based budget. This budget has not been through the budget committee process, which I believe is a violation of the town charter budget process. For one councilor to significantly change the structure may be a violation of the town charter, Lincoln Town codes, and state of Maine statutes. Thank you very much.
Anybody else on this side of the room?
Hello, Tim Wright, taxpayer. 2 different things. I'll be as quick as I possibly can. This here nonsense about recall is unconstitutional. I want to make sure you understand that. Because if you turn around and give this recall, because former council members or chairs who put us in this budget, we're here because of them. They don't like who's in there, so now they want to fight it and have a recall. So if they get in, I'm gonna fight it. I will sign up. I will have a recall. We're gonna do recalls for the rest of our lives. There's 2 people that are up for election. That's how all should end. If they don't like it, too bad. A lot of people didn't like the president, but guess what? You got over it. That's what it is. Enough of the childish stuff. Let the council do their job, work together and get it done. You're also heading down a very scary rabbit hole with this new contract. I speak from a professional and personal view that if you go through with this new contract with getting rid of trash, you will see tires, furniture, and TVs on every side road, every dirt road, because they're gonna raise the rates. We can't afford this. This is not what the people can afford. You need to come together and make Lincoln great again. This is God's country, people. Please don't destroy it. We need your help. Please do not sign that contract. End it now. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Okay, we'll start on this side.
Before I start, is it okay to talk about one department? Is it already done?
Now that should be done during the,
Okay. Then
okay. All right, anybody on this side? Oh, we got someone coming up to the one.
Hello, my name is Adrian McLaughlin. I was born in this town at PVH, grown up here my entire life, aside from 3 years being at college in Fort Kent. I'm very accustomed to small town living. I've actually never lived in a town bigger than this one. I have something prepared to you. I really hope that you do listen, although I'm inclined to think that you probably won't, which is okay. I'm probably the youngest person in here. Okay, there's a kid over there, with a second youngest. Due to the fact that I'm only 23 years old and I'm standing in front of a town council, I think you should probably listen, right? The fact that you have somebody who's 23 standing in front of you today, this is a big matter. And I would like for everybody to please weigh what I have to say. Once again, my name is Adrian McLaughlin. I have had a lot to say tonight. I have rewrote this speech probably 4 different times. I actually went back and forth on if I should stand up here in front of you guys today. Because of the fact that I feel like everybody who has brought concerns to everybody here, it falls on deaf ears. Nothing is being said. There is nothing to be said about, well, we could probably do this, maybe we could do that. There's absolutely no meat in the middle. It's driving me nuts. I have never been known as someone who kept my mouth shut, so I'm not going to. I was going to have a bigger, more in-depth speech about all the numbers. I did break down the entire 2021 budget, and I waited again for 2027 budget, and the 2026 budget, and the 2025 budget. I was going to propose a bunch of numbers to you guys. Didn't really feel like boring you and the audience with all of that. But I did take economics in college, 1 and 2. And I do have a pretty good grasp on how a budget works and how a zero-based budget works. And like it was said earlier, this does not happen overnight. It is shown that you don't care about the aging population in Lincoln. Cutting EMS will severely affect those who have terminal illness, long-term illnesses, and acute illnesses. You don't care that code enforcement hasn't been doing properly what their job is said to be done. There are fires, and that shows lack of care of people's properties. You don't care about the younger population like me, who's already struggling to find a reason to stay in this town. And I want to stay in this town. All of this political turmoil, council members becoming keyboard warriors on Facebook, it's hard to look at this town and argue that it's a nice place to live. You state that you care about people who say their taxes are so high, but their taxes wouldn't be so high if we distributed this evenly across the entire town. Drastically cutting this budget and waiting 5 years to rebuild the town would be absolutely way too late. The people who leave here will not come back. The training spent on staff will not be coming back. They will go elsewhere and find somewhere that pays them higher than what is being paid here, and they will take their training. Training is indisposable with personnel. I urge you to take a look at any mill town. You can look at Millinocket. For instance, in northern Maine, any steel mill town, any manufacturing towns, car manufacturing towns in the Midwest, coal mining towns in the Southeast. All of them have one thing in common, and they are all absolute ghost towns. No one is moving there, and everybody is moving out. Why is this? Because the Port Town management due to create new opportunities in life for the residents of those towns. There will be no opportunity for anyone wanting to move there, and this town will become a ghost town. No new businesses, business leaving, and people leaving. Hannaford owns the property of one of the Little League fields. They allow the Little League field to use that property. If Hannaford, however, sees a decrease in purchases at their store due to the town losing people, they would probably be inclined to sell that property, and then we could lose a Little League. This program is already mostly ran by parents and volunteers, by the way. And these parents want these opportunities for their kids. And they want it for other kids. Kids that more or less probably wouldn't be playing a sport unless given this opportunity. I know that all that matters these days is saving people, taxpayers, $100 on the tax bill. That to me is tripping over a dollar to pick up a dime. I know no one cares what will happen in this town in order to save them $100. It feels like nobody cares about these detrimental consequences. As stated by Counselor Ireland, it wouldn't be the first mistake. I know you all don't care about mistakes being made, even though the actual future of people's lives are in these hands. Not just the employees of this town, but the people who just live here. I urge those of you who are listening in attendance tonight to speak up and state how wrong this is. I personally know how hard it is to decide to come up here and single yourself out. But the more you voice your opinion, and the more they either don't listen or listen, will reflect on them. I also urge those of you who are in disagreement of this budget to please sign the recall petitions at the town office. They are open Monday through Friday, 8 AM to 5 PM. Thank you.
Lincoln, keep it short. I'm just hoping you'll use some common sense. Everybody wants the taxes down. I think a lot of these actually looking at the cost a lot more than this. The training and stuff we haven't seen these people that we're looking at is huge. If you want to be a part of the community, the cap infrastructure is.
Thank you, John.
My name is David Moisen, I'm a resident, and I work on the. As when I've spoken before, what I'm about to say is my opinion. I'm not Councilor Moisen's stalking horse or a tactic. She can do a much better job making her case than I. Tonight, I am speaking on behalf of Lincoln's suffering and struggling. The doubling of their property taxes in most cases has taken food off their tables, fuel out of their furnaces, clothes off their back, and deprived them of other essentials of life. I'm going to give you a few real world examples. A couple of years ago, a widow addressed town council and pleaded that town stop raising her property. Instead, her property taxes have gone up sharply since. She ballparked her figure or her income a couple of years ago. So this is a pretty good number. The property taxes on her modest house now take the equivalent of 50 days of her modest pension. 50 days. That's up 20 days since 2020. She cannot deal with that. There's a modest two-story colonial on the edge of town. Well suited to a retired couple receiving 2 Social Security checks. It's well suited to them because it's big enough for their visiting children and their visiting grandchildren. There's one exception to that. The property taxes, the actual property taxes on that house will take about 55 days of that retired couple's Social Security income. 55 days. That's up 17 days since 2020. Somewhere in between there are retired school teachers. I looked at the homes owned by 3 of those and the widow of a 4th. Since 2020, their property taxes have gone up more than 100%. All of those homes' property taxes have gone up more than 100%. That is 4 times more than the increase in their pension. If you doubt that, go to Maine First and go to the town tax record. They'll confirm what I just told you. This situation is unsustainable. And if you need evidence of that, look at the results of the last two elections. All of the incumbent town councilors that ran were replaced with candidates who ran on either cutting property taxes or restraining property taxes. We need them. The retired people in this town and the other people in this town who are living on incomes that are closely indexed to the consumer price index or some other deflator cannot tolerate any giving up any more days of their income to the town. I urge all of the department heads who have consistently asked for increases in their budget that are multiples of the cost of living adjustment to go back to the drawing board and limit their fiscal year 27 request to their actual expenditures in 2026 or 3 to 5% less. Why 3 to 5% less? Because that's how much the increase in property taxes since 2020 have reduced the purchasing power of thousands of people residing in this town. Thank you.
That was almost up here.
Carol Marino. I'm not a public speaker. I'm an old retired nurse. I do not understand why the council wants to cut the services needed by this small community. But the same council refuses to properly assess and collect the due taxes, many from years back. Do your job. Don't cut back the services that we need in this town.
Council. My name is Alex Fair. I'm an assistant clerk and assistant tax collector in the town of Lincoln. More than that, I'm a husband and a father. And by the grace of God, I'm a servant in my local church. And I speak as an employee of the town of Lincoln, and my opinions are my own. I would like to share my thoughts about the budget delivered by the town manager and the budget reductions that were proposed by Councilor Ireland. Who best knows the needs of their department? It is clear to me that the department heads, being the foreman of sorts of their department, know best what it needs, because they not only lead it, but also experience its day-to-day operations along with their employees. The town manager's budget reflects what the department heads know that they need. I have observed as an employee working underneath the department head that they meticulously determine what resources are required for their department, with the goal of not only keeping its nose above the water, but to excel. Indeed, we must keep our departments thriving, not merely surviving, for the betterment of the town as an organization, and in turn, the people it serves. The residents of Lincoln understand these things. This council does not. Incorporating only the inflation in prices that's proposed by Councilor Ireland does not account for the increasing of the needs of Lincoln's residents, nor the major, not reasonable, influx of new part-time and full-time residents since COVID, of which we can only speculate about until the 2030 census reveals that number to us. To calculate based off of the cold hard numbers as proposed by Councilor Ireland is therefore erroneous, and I should hope that this council will not take action that will cut and uproot the lives of many employees and their families due to this mathematical fallacy. In my humble opinion, may this council please listen to the department heads who understand not only their department's needs, but also what the residents of Lincoln require and ask of their department, many of which services we would be unable to provide with severe budget reductions. There are other ways to lower taxes than cutting law enforcement, fire, and EMS services. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else on this side?
My name is Beth Mayo, I live in Lincoln. I served on the budget committee and I thought we did a very good job, fairly good job of scrutinizing the budget that was presented by, then town manager Dennis Boland. I don't believe the current town manager's budget, has been scrutinized as well, so I think we need to look at that as a different document. I want to know if this council has looked at other options for revenue. One in particular is I read an article in Bangor Daily that Aroostook County is using their opioid settlement fund to fund a resource officer. Why are we looking to our commissioners at Comstock County to do the same? Why are we looking for these avenues for other revenues to help us along this path? What has this town council done to direct the current town manager to make sure that those tax assessments that were not provided in the previous years is going to be picked up for those extra 3 years that we can get if you so direct the assessment? I think that needs to be done because in the law it's not specific enough. It is particularly specific that it's required by law to homestead exemption if you didn't, or you to go back 10 years for that year. With other years of assessment, it's only up to the local officials to decide whether they're going to go after that 3-year time frame. And I think we need to direct the town staff to do that. Make sure they get that extra revenue that's due the town that should have been received a long time ago. I also want to know if during the audit process, if the council has ever received any explanation as to where the COVID money that we received as a town was spent. Do you actually know where that extra money went? What it was used for? Or are we just part of the $1 billion misappropriation of total funds that's happening throughout the country? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeanette.
My name is Eric Hines. I'm a resident here in Lincoln. While I do truly appreciate a fiscally conservative council, I worry that it's too much too soon. And I would caution against cuts to fire, police, and EMS. Just anecdotally, I'll tell you a story, a personal story, where EMS made a difference to me. In 2025, in March, at 46 years old, I had a heart attack secondary to myocarditis. I was at the Lincoln Hospital getting exemplary care. I got a bed very quickly offered at Eastern Maine. They called Lincoln EMS, they called Holland EMS. And even with the current staffing at that time, they didn't have availability to take me to Eastern Maine. I actually made a statement to one of the nurses, disconnect me from the IV medications, I'll drive myself. And I am very thankful to our crew here in Lincoln. One of them came in on their day off, which should not be expected. But they are so dedicated, they came in on their day off to make sure I got to the hospital. I was on medications that only a paramedic trained in those medications can take a person down on. If it had been anybody lesser, I wouldn't have been able to make it there. None of us are getting any younger or healthier. And I just worry if something more significant happens to my family or any of us. How long do we want to be sitting, waiting for somebody to take us to definitive care? So please do your best, make sure we're doing our due diligence in collecting whatever taxes are appropriate from everybody as appropriate. And maybe
look at cuts elsewhere. I know you guys are in a tough spot, but I really worry it's too much too soon. Thank you.
My name is Frank Nicastro. I've been a resident here since 1987. I'm a business owner in this town, of multiple businesses. And I gotta tell you, I'm not happy. I don't know what is going on here. You know, a few months back, I find my name in the paper about homestead tax or something. I don't even know what it's about, truly. Which I find kind of funny. It's not funny at all. People put your name in the paper and you don't even know what they're talking about. Anyway. You know, we're looking at cutting our services. Are we crazy? Do you look around this state, this United States, what's happening? It's not getting easier. It's getting bad. There's no respect in the families, none. And truly, that's where it starts from. If you want to go on the police department part of this and what these men and women have to deal with every day. And then you look at the age of our people just in this area. Probably, not that it should make a difference, but it really does. That the age of our society here are probably on the older senior citizen part of the spectrum. And we need our EMS and fire more than ever. That's what we're cutting. And I don't want to point a finger on my next step of this. But you look at, I'm a camp owner, and I talk to a lot of people on these lakes in this town. And people that have a camp that is up on like pillars or blocks are getting taxed 3, 4, 5 times more. I could take you to some houses right in this downtown area that'll make them look like a doghouse. And they're not getting taxed a quarter of it. I think our council is not looking at, and our town manager is not looking at. Let's go back to the basics. If we're gonna start cutting places, let's do our job. Tax where the tax should be taxed. And take care of our EMS people. You know, I know most of you know me here, and I've been a firefighter here since 1987. And, you know, I never thought that all the calls that I dealt with, people dying in my arms, and never bothered me. And you think these people here that put their lives on the line, and it's just another job, or our military people. It's not just another job. My daughter had a brain tumor a year ago. And ever since that day, all of that stuff that I dealt with, that these men and women around you today have dealt with, have come back and are haunting me today. So think about what you're doing before you start thinking about cutting that budget. There's a lot of places that cut in this town. And the fire department budget, if you look at it, is probably the only department in the town that offsets their own budget. So think about that and look at them percentages. Thank you.
My name is Marguerite Tilton, and I am a resident of Lincoln. I haven't, I've lived here most of my life. I teach here in the school district. And I just wanted to come down and say that I appreciate the council wanting to save our taxpayers' money. I truly do. But that being said, we can't bite the hand that feeds us. We need to keep our public safety and our emergency medical services, plus having a solid rec department, having good schools. All of these things go together to make a community, to attract people, to attract more money that you can pull from, instead of cutting and then losing that stuff because people move away. We have a beautiful town, 13 lakes, a walking trail, pickleball courts, which is an up and coming activity for a lot of people. We need to keep making our area an attractive place to be. Without these things, again, you're going to lose people and you're going to lose taxpayer money, and it will affect the businesses and it affects the schools. You lose the ability to hire good teachers and educate our kids, which are our future. That's our future. This is a huge undertaking, and I appreciate the levity of the situation. But we cannot cut our EMS, fire department, rec department, the things that keep a community together. And we also need to start working across the aisle a little bit more. And if you truly don't agree with something, then don't vote just the way that somebody's influencing you to do that. Okay, stand on your own. On your own 2 feet and vote for what you feel is best for the people that you are representing. You have been voted into this office. We are your constituents. We are sharing our voice tonight. And our voice is loud and clear. You better keep the EMS and fire department going. Yeah. I just, and please, sorry, all of it. I'll just say all of it. We have to, one of the options that one of the previous gentlemen said over here is you have to look to expand. We have economic development. We have to get that moving. Speed that up. I don't know how to make that happen. I don't have experience in that, but there are some really smart people in this area that you can pick their brains, or other people that have ideas that maybe they're too afraid to share with you because of divisiveness, and they're just afraid that they're going to get a door slammed in them. Please work together, work across the aisles. Think about, you can't please everybody all the time, but you can please most of the people most of the time if you do it right. Please listen to your constituents. And if you can't do that, then please step down. Don't make us do a recall. If you're not going to do your job and represent the majority, then please step down. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? We can do that. We'll do that during the public hearing.
Hey, Council, Chad Shore, owner of Maxed Out Services. Today is my 12-year anniversary of being let go from Lincoln Paper and Tissue. I've been here 44 years. I've never thought of leaving once. I've worked out of town, but I've never once thought of leaving. Some of you act like Lincoln has rolled over and died and want to make this a retirement home. There's a lot of us left here that want to see the town grow and thrive. I'm tired of how we're looking in the news. We're embarrassing. Whenever we go out of town, Lincoln's, oh, you're from Lincoln. Not for good reasons. And I hate that. I hate that for all of us because I bleed Lincoln. I love this town. I'm personally tired of the bickering back and forth on Facebook. And I'm generalizing, just saying all of you, but you know who you are. Stop with the name calling. Stop with the Four Horsemen. Stop with the Three Stooges. Stop with all of it. I want to see all of you get away from the keyboards and let's get to work. We got plenty of work to do. I don't care, Democrat, Republican, we've got enough divide nationwide. We do not need divide in Lincoln, Maine at all. I'm perfectly okay paying more for services that keep my community safe. It's not 2021 anymore. We need to wake up and recognize this. My prices have gone up for my customers. I hate doing it, but I had to. My insurances, my workman's comp, everything's gone up. It's life, and that's okay. I grew up with the rec department program. I'm forever grateful for it. It helped me develop socially and physically and prepared me scholastically. I don't want to see any cuts to that program whatsoever. Lastly, I just want to say thank you to the town employees. Without you, this town does not run. Thank you so much. I know it's a mental struggle for all of you. Thank you for showing up to work every day.
Promise I'll keep this brief. My name is Sean Millett, taxpayer. Been a Lincoln resident since the day I was born, 1972. Been a Lincoln resident for my whole 54 years. I heard somebody say one time that why are we putting taxes ahead of people? I have that same question now. Why are we putting taxes ahead of people? I bought a house in town about 4 years ago. Double lot. To my recollection, half of that double lot is still listed in somebody else's name. So if we want to get things squared away, we probably should start with everybody paying a piece of the pie instead of just a select few. The last couple things I want to say is, can we put a price on what it means to have somebody that lives in another town that we service? And I get a call from the hospital. Can you help so-and-so into their house? They're going home on hospice to die. Yeah, we're gonna be there. I don't care what it takes. Can we put a price on that? I can't. When we talk about patient care, that is our mantra. Underneath everything, we care only about the people that we serve. We care about the council. We care about everybody that lives in our communities that we serve and anybody that might be visiting. That is what we take pride in. That is the only thing that we take pride in, as well as maintaining your equipment and all these people's equipment, because it's not ours, it's all of yours. And we cherish every single piece of it. So just ask yourself, can you put a price on somebody having their worst day? When we leave there, their day is a little better because we were there. Thank you.
I am Becca Peters. I'm a resident of Lincoln. I've lived here since 1988. My family moved to Urban Kid, and I have never wanted to be four boys here. I was until recently, due to budget cuts, the school resource officer for RSC 67. And right now I am the most tenured officer with Lincoln Police Department, not the most experienced, but the one that has worked here the longest on patrol. Detective Jacobs is the only person that has been working here longer than I have consecutively. That being said, when I got hired, a little story about my swearing in, I met former town manager Rick Bronson when I went over to the town office to do my swearing in ceremony, and his words to me, a new employee, a new officer, I'd never been on the road my entire life, I was barely certified. He said, "Welcome to the revolving door that is Lincoln Police Department." If I didn't live here my whole life and I wasn't already familiar with the Lincoln Police Department itself, my husband was an officer here for a few years, excuse me. I probably would have reconsidered wanting to work here. I have loved working for this department. However, I've been through 3 chiefs in 4 years and 3 months of being with this department. I'm very glad that we have one that really wants to stick around, hopefully. He's been amazing, and there's been some really great changes in our department, including an announcement just a few months ago that we were nearing fully staffed, which is amazing because we have had a lot of overtime that's been mandated. We've been very, very strapped to cover shifts from the time that I set foot in the door of this department. So I want you guys to know from my perspective, this is my perspective personally as a person, as a citizen of Lincoln, and as an employee of this town and the Lincoln Police Department, that when you're considering making cuts to this department, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for the employees. There are plenty of departments that I don't want to work for that will pay me more, that it's not that long of a commute, that I will have to work a lot less to be able to do the thing that I love. But I want to do that thing in Lincoln. So please, before you consider cutting our department or any of the departments,
look at all the people here that showed up. I'm the only one that could show up tonight because Lincoln Police Department this week is very, very strapped. So, just keep that in mind, that you're not just talking about money, you're talking about services, you're talking about people, you're talking about people who love working for this town that would quite seriously consider, not because we want to, but having to go somewhere else if you were to cut our position.
Good evening, I'll keep it very brief, since I think most people here have covered pretty much everything. That's an impressive job. What I did want to say, and I wanted to call out, I think people realize that there's been a lot of stories in the news about our tax collection problem, and I would describe that as a revenue problem. You can't properly set your budget unless you know what your income is. And right now, the town of Lincoln does not know what its income truly is. Priority number one shouldn't be making cuts to essential services that people depend on. Priority number one should be getting the tax books in order. Priority number one should be getting the tax bills for past taxes due out. Until you know what that is, you can't in good conscience set a responsible budget. And that's all I had to add. So everything everyone.
My name's Byron Sanderson. I've been in Lincoln since 1988. I was tasked from the assessing office last fall to inspect some properties to see what was on the properties based on what I saw compared to what the town had as a record. And in response to the gentleman that spoke about the taxes being added at any time, I was told more than once from the former assessor and with the meeting with the former manager that this had to take place by April 1st to be added to 2027's budget. Don't know if that's true. I'm just a site inspection. I'm not an assessor. But this issue, and it's far from over, because I never did all of the properties I was given, ran out of time. There's a group from the community that brought properties to the town that were full-blown homes, although I found some on properties that were full-blown homes the town did not know about. I do not believe that this has been rectified. I think we're far from it. That's a lack on the leadership from the town manager down to the department, not doing their job. As far as this budget and the cuts, I think we should use a better word, better language, as in reduction. Because cuts, when there was stuff posted out there on cuts, it sounded like, okay, they're gonna cut the fire department completely out. They're gonna cut the rec department completely out. They're gonna cut the police. No, it's just talking reductions, and that we need reductions everywhere. We can talk about revenue all day long. That mill's been gone since 2015. I worked there. We've been talking probably 4, 5, 6 companies coming here to employ 100 to 150. Hasn't happened. So there's tough decisions have got to be made. It's not pleasant for anybody, but the taxes, they're over twice when I first built my house, probably 90, 91. You don't have an employee here. You just don't have people making money to continue raising. The raising we've done in the last 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, that falls on the prior council. Because it looks to me, this is just my opinion, that all we did is, okay, whatever was brought, we just let it go, we let it go, we let it go. And that's why we're where we are today. Because the taxes are too high. And now everybody's screaming, but don't cut them. Well, but everybody says in October, November, when the bill come out, the taxes are too high. But I don't want to do it. It's got to be one or the other. It's got to be a compromise. And it's not an easy task. So I'd like to leave with a question. Are these properties the properties, a committee of some taxpayers of the town brought to the town? Are these going to be in the 2027 property values to be taxed? And are we looking back 3 years? And are we going back 10 years mandated by the state to get the double homestead? Don't know if you have the answer right now, but I'd really like to hear. Thank you.
I'll try and make this short and sweet. I've only been a resident in this town of yours for about 6 years. And I left a bigger city.
What was your name, sir?
I didn't say my name, sir. I lived in Bangor and I've lived in some of the bigger cities and some of the worst cities. And love this town, bought the family here, raising a family here. Just recently decided I pulled one of my kids out of the school system. The school board made a mistake of cutting school resource officer. You have too big of a school, too much going on, playing with that. And parents are working hard jobs. Some of us working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying to provide for our children and expecting that we've got some sort of support at the school system, helping take care of our kids and providing the safety. We had that. You had a school resource officer. That board made that decision. And I know I'm not the only parent that's deciding to pull students out of that school board and start homeschooling. You're talking about the town now. You're messing around with resources. I've got an awesome privilege of being able to work with one of our emergency service personnel. I treated him like a brother. He treats me like a brother. And I've had the joy of listening to him and being thankful to tell him every time I get to see him, man, thank you for what you do, man. As having a parent who's a retired firefighter, knowing some of the difficulties that they go through. And you guys are talking about cutting resources and you're talking about all these, you want all these businesses is coming in. You really think any business is really going to want to come to a town when they find out that you're cutting your resources, pulling your emergency resources? You really not understand? I'm telling you, from the bigger cities, you keep messing with the emergency service personnel, what you're gonna get coming into this town is not anything that y'all, that the rest of you can handle. Are you guys gonna sit out there at the lights? Are you gonna start patrolling the streets like citizens when the gangbangers from Bangor come up? When the drugs from Bangor get pushed up here harder and faster because you don't have enough emergency service to protect this town? You know, you had a young lady come up here talking about a younger generation. Look around. What are you guys doing right now to provide for that younger generation? What are we doing to build a legacy? All I've heard is excuses for the last couple of months from what I hear. Tax system, there's no resource. You're not coming up with an actual solution. The only solution I've seen and heard that's been posted or talked about is let's cut the emergency services. Now, and you know, somebody said something, oh, it's not just a cut, you know, it was reform. From the time I spent with some of these people, some of these men, some of these women, there isn't one of those positions over there that this town can afford to lose 1 or 2 of their people. You can't even afford even their higher officers. We can't afford to use some of them. And I'm telling you, from somebody who's been on both sides of the law and both sides of the spectrum, and I'm telling you, you guys need to pay more attention to what your town has been telling you. Don't be messing with the resources. There's other things you can be doing, and we haven't, as you've heard from plenty of other citizens, I haven't heard one thing posted or said at all about a solution. Just extreme blaming on, let's keep blaming the past, let's keep blaming the past people. What are you doing different? What are you going to do to build a legacy to make this town to where the younger generation wants to stay in here and where parents want to keep our children in this town? Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Keith, and I am a homeowner in Lincoln, Maine. I am 37 years old. I moved away straight out of high school. I had a troubled childhood. I got in trouble with the law. I became a mother very young, and I moved to Florida. I lived in Colorado. I lived in North Carolina, and my father stayed here. My father was very elderly. And about 4 years ago, he passed. But I moved home. Not only because of my father, but I love this town. I know a lot of what you see here are elderly people, not young people. A lot of young people are moving away. Why? I just recently became engaged. My fiance is an on-call firefighter. And I know some of the firefighters here, and they're amazing people. And they would do anything for this town. I know some of the police officers, and my son is 16, he's a freshman at Manalaca. He has his own struggles with the school, he has no friend. I have chosen to take him out of the school system. Miss Peters was great with him. She guided him, she was there for him. And now she's gonna be gone. There are many other children who need somebody to look up to, need somebody to be there for them when teachers can't be. I know moving back and coming back to this town, I'm, like I said, I'm a single mom. My taxes for me are feasible, but it's hard being a single mom. And I'm kind of but we need fire, we need EMS, we need police. We need that for the other generation, not only. I had last year where I was sort of my Hornet, and my family called in the one. They were there within 15 minutes or so. I couldn't die. I didn't know, but I could die if someone elderly had an issue. Who's going to come? Who's going to come? There's been many house fires recently. If we didn't have the fire department, what would happen? They would go. We need to keep the fire, we need to keep the EMS, we need to keep the police. We have a town that is very low in crime, and most of it is because of control. I just think that's the right thing to do. It doesn't, and I'm not political at all, but it does not take much common sense to understand that you cannot cut a budget that much. So, thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Council?
I have two things. I have a letter. I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry about the sunglasses, I forgot my regular glasses. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm just gonna state what I think. My name's Alicia. As a mom of an 11-year-old girl, I asked the council, in the middle school age. She just recently found softball that she absolutely loves. She's done other rec programs that have been wonderful. If things get cut, what is there for middle school age kids to do in this town? Absolutely nothing. You got the beach and you got a playground, and that's it. When kids are not in something, they're going to find trouble. Not only that, rec has It teaches the kids to be on a team. It teaches them to work together. It teaches them to communicate. It teaches them to be coachable, which also runs over into the classroom. They learn how to be in a classroom. They learn about acceptable behaviors. They learn how to be respectful. Cutting any of the rec program is horrible. With that being said, I live at the end of Winter Street, and I can tell you, the fire. They are busy and they are always. They showed up in rapid time. So I'm just gonna say this. If we cut any of that, then I don't know about any of you who have friends or family that their house burns and maybe they might not make it out, then that's gonna be on you when you cut. There's nobody there to help. That's on your conscience, not on the town. Because they do their job and they save lives and they save homes. And it's a hard job and I can't even imagine. And our police department, we can't afford to lose any of these people, any of these programs, any of these services. And it's such a disservice that I can't even imagine that we're even talking about at all. It's disappointing to me because I voted and I'm disappointed in the way that I voted. And I've never been disappointed in the way that I voted. But these are essential. Our EMS, our police are essential. We need them. These programs for these children are essential and we need them. Some kids, the only thing that they have, some of them don't come from good home lines. Some of them don't have parents present, but they have sport. This is their outlet. This gives them purpose. This gives them something to strive and be better for. And you can see the difference in a lot of children that do this. And as far as our resource officer, I work in the school system and I'm gonna tell you, she's more than just there for protection, which is essential. She has built relationships with these children, these kids, these teens. And if you ever saw her at work and you watched her on a day-to-day basis, some of these kids that come from some rough backgrounds that are getting in trouble are now calling her for advice and they're calling her for help. And I'm gonna tell you, you've got children at the lower level that they might see their parents get arrested and they look at costs for that. But she's building relationships and they're trusting her. So now they know that they could have gone. They can go to the police. They're not scared of the police. They're not running away from them. They're running towards them. And I'm very disappointed that we got rid of the school so far. Because she was more than anything. I will say, you know, if we cut these programs and things start happening, people don't make it out of houses and crime happens and they can't get there, then that's gonna be on the people's conscience of this program. It's certainly not gonna be on the.
Afternoon. My name's Dan York. I have lived here since 2000. My daughter was actually. I moved up here from Gardner because my son was going down in that area. And I can offer to grow up in the system how it looks. And now I'm staying up here and starting to learn the same thing. I am a former member of the Lincoln Fire Department. I was an on-call firefighter. And when I started, we were literally, I think, for the department. So you're talking about a quarter full time. So I worked during the days at that time, I worked nights. So if I was available, then I would be showing up. And that's a portrait of the people that would show up. That were full-time job. I have two instances of when I was on the department of them helping my family. My father-in-law was in the fire. And I was living just over the Burlington line. By the time the tone dropped, I made my house in Burlington, their house in Chester. He was on a like hook up to 4. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, he was really burned. Then 2 years or 3 years ago, someone dead, my father, we live on Bear Drive. Heart attack in the bathroom. The dispatcher terminated me. They talked to my 2 children, which were in they're teenagers. Talking through CPR. The response time for them, for Lincoln Fire to get to that house was that way. Very, very quick, wasn't it? Yeah, if that, and unfortunately, he did not make it, but my father was in poor health. But I've been here since 2009. And to cut anybody at all from EMS, police, any of that, is just beyond me. Because I have been there. I have been in their shoes. I have seen some of the stuff we have seen. It is just really ridiculous. I've been there. Anybody else? Yep. Okay.
My name is Sheila Heath. I've lived here since 1971. My first time. I'm up in the 16th now, but please talk 58 years. Many people that are protected this town and all of you that are showing your respect them. You show them how much you appreciate all of it, along with the police department also. So you do a job, which you think, God forbid, if something should happen to somebody's home that catches fire, you only have, say, 2 or 3 firefighters that are putting up, and they have to wait 15, 20 minutes meeting to get to that scene. And in today's world, everybody is soon. So is that going to be a matter of this town? It's going to be soon, because you cut the fire department or the police department, and they were able to get to the fire in the same scene. So the people give them a round of applause for what is.
If you're gonna repeat yourself, Frank, no.
Just jog my memory. You know, in the day, we're budget company because of no closing and all of that stuff. And what's funny about the mill is gone, or it's still alive. And this town is very strong. But what I got my memory about is we were cutting, and a couple police officers that were reserve police officers covered this town to save us, all of us that lived here, above and beyond their hours that they should have been working to bail this town out because of budget cuts. So we would have a police officer on duty to cover this town. And I find that really funny, not that she had to jog my memory on that, and I'm sorry, and her husband was one of them. And Officer Hallett was another one, and the town like relied on these reserve officers, and they worked over their hours legally to cover this town to do what they needed to do, because of that badge that they wear is what they stand for. And here we are, we're gonna cut more, and we're gonna be back in our same predicament. And what happens if something really did happen? One of these officers working over their hours and time gets hurt or killed, who's gonna pay for that? And what taxes are gonna pay for that? So before you start cutting this, think about that little story right there. And it's documented. If you think I'm whatever, It's documented. Have a good night.
Counselor Street, I have a quick question for you. Do you have the note from Christine Miller?
I do, I don't know.
Do you plan on reading it or are you left? Okay.
All right, do we have anything, anyone else? Over here? Okay, Councilman Street, you started.
All right, so a couple things. One is, I do have a letter here from Christine Miller, who, couldn't be here tonight, but said, wife of a firefighter and mother of four. And I wanted to read a few sections from this. I love the Lincoln community, and I hope that all the people on the council are thinking about the entire community of Lincoln, including the young families who love this community and want nothing more than to raise a family here in Lincoln. Not only do I want to raise my family here, but I would love for the new businesses coming here to bring more jobs, that bring more young families and others to fall in love with what our community has to offer them. I'll add that when I moved here 9 years ago, I didn't realize I was going to fall in love with Lincoln too. It's a really wonderful community. I would hate for my husband to have to leave the profession in a town that we love, a profession in which for the longest time we questioned if it was worth it. At least we don't have to travel far, I would say, or we won't have the luxury of stopping in to see you on a 48-hour shift if you worked anywhere else. Or even we love this little town and this little fire department. There might be a bigger and better, but it's not Lincoln. The life of a firefighter's wife is not easy. I've given up many days with my husband. I've given up eating dinners together so that he can go and help in that time of need. My children have given up their time with their fathers at a drop of a hat for the betterment of others and often other people's lives. No need for a thank you for your service. That's not what we're looking for, merely to ask you to make decisions for our community that you think of every single piece of the puzzle. And I wanted to bring up, I'm going to pass this out. Speaking of pieces of the puzzle, a lot of times we talk about the inflation rate is going up, 3-4%, whatever, over the last several years. This is a look at specifically the kind of equipment that the fire department and the police department use. Now, it's not only that. I couldn't find just that. But what I wanted to point out to everyone is that over the 20 years from 2010 to 2020, the consumer producer price index for machinery equipment only rose by 14 points. In the last 6 years, it rose by 53 points. So that's from 20 to 26. It rose by 53 points, which means it has been raising at more than 4 times the rate it was before. And I think that's one of the things we need to be taking into consideration when we are taking a look at the police and fire department budget and probably the public works budget, to sit there and say, so the inflation rate has been way faster for those departments, and it is probably not a surprise that we should expect to see a much higher rate of increase for those departments. All right, then one more thing, a similar kind of thing, officer to population ratios. Back in 2019, 2020, sworn officers nationwide were about 2.4 sworn officers per 1,000 inhabitants nationwide. But if you look at that, it looks like we should only have 12 officers to be an average town. But what that doesn't look at is what happens in rural areas. Rural areas have to have more officers per 1,000 to be able just to keep the shifts going. And so if you take a look at the average for a town with 2,500 people, they average 3.8 officers per 1,000. I went back and said, look, we're not that small. We're about about 4,900 is our size. At that position, the number of officers on average for a town our size in the nation is 17. And Chief, I believe we are not that's less than what we have even planned. And it's certainly less than what we have on the road right now. So the last thing I wanted to say is back before this last election, there was one person who was running for office who called the Biofine project smoke and mirrors and suggested that instead of bringing more money than more than 100 much needed jobs to Lincoln, the company was a scam and would never break ground. I don't know how he feels about it now. I hope he's changed, but another person is now proposing a budget or suggesting a budget so draconian that it seems designed to scare Biofine away. It's kind of like you bet against a favorite horse in the Kentucky Derby, then bought the horse, fired the jockey, fired its trainer, didn't feed it, and then told the replacement jockey to hold back on the reins. The best chance we have for keeping property taxes down is revenue growth, economic growth, increased property value, property in the town. And don't hamper that growth and tell us at the same time that you have our citizens' best interest in. Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to point out a couple things. I don't have a polished speech, I have notes. We haven't voted on this budget, and we're not voting tonight. So no decision has been made on cuts, reductions, increases. We're talking about. So just to be clear, I would like to put another broad brush proposal on the table. The budget that was presented to us by the town manager is a smidge on the expense side higher than last year, just a smidge. It is higher. You can argue that point, but it's not significantly higher. And when you add in the revenue, it's even a little less. There's been comments made tonight that we don't know what our revenues are. That's true. We have some issues in the back office that need to be cleaned up, having to do with assessing, having to do with through the budget process. It was pointed out that some of our fees are really not where they should be. Some of the fees at the transfer station aren't covering our current operation. So we have some work to do on figuring out the revenues and getting our back office cleaned up. So what I propose, and I'm not going to give you a lot of numbers, just take it from the 4,000 foot level, that I propose that we accept the budget, that we put in a hiring freeze and I put an asterisk on the police because of their process is kind of weird, but that we don't, other than the positions that we know we need to fill, the treasurer, you know, those are designated, but put in a hiring freeze. So we're not doing any cutting, we're just freezing things. And then we will work on cleaning up our back office, and that, because I think the department managers did a really good job overall on cutting their budgets where they felt they could. If they didn't feel they could cut it, they justified it. So they said, okay, we'll track your expenses through the year and see if you stay in line with your budget and don't go way over. So that's my proposal, that we just freeze it, get our house in order, and then see where we are next year. But I think it's one vote.
Mr. Chair, I've done a rough count tonight. There's about 87 people in attendance. Majority of them are town employees and whatnot. So I'm gonna borrow expression from one of my childhood heroes, Paul Harvey, and say, here's the rest of the story. And the first thing I would like to do, Mr. Chair, something you brought to my attention, and I want to offer the public some clarification. Former Town Council Chair George Edwards has actually brought this up in social media as well.
I think I deserve the public clarification. I have been saying that the town budget in the last 6 years has increased 63%. Now, if you take the total budget, Mr. Chair, that includes the property tax levy, revenue offsets, overlay. You brought it to my attention, and I want to make it publicly, you are correct. So is former town council chair Gordon Street, George Edwards. It's 9%, but this is the other side of the story. Hey, when you get a minute, send me over a picture you want me to use. Hey. What I was referring to was the net budget for the last 6 years. That is what our property taxes are based on. That number has increased 63% in the last 6 years. During that same time, the police department's budget has increased 173%. The fire and EMS budget in that same time has increased 77%. Inflation during this past 6 years is 20%. Now, get back to my notes here. In full disclosure to the public and to my fellow town council members, I waited until I got the finished budget book Saturday morning, finished reviewing it, and I sent it to the council, my proposal on how to address this year's budget. The town council did not get a zero-based budget. And what I proposed, and this is my proposal, like Councilor Moisten said, I am one counselor. It doesn't need to be my way or the highway. If somebody else can come up with a better idea, I am all ears. But my proposal is we take fiscal year 2021. This is a clarification that needs to be made because there's a lot of disinformation out in the public right now. And add 34%. This inflation for 2027 is going to be around 3%. So if you take the 20%, add the 3%, my proposal would give most departments an 11% increase. There's two exceptions. And I want to make this very clear to the public tonight. My proposal would increase the police budget by 45%. The fire and EMS would increase by 42% from fiscal year 2021. I am not, it's my, I've got the floor. I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking, Councilor Street. Sure. Don't make it better. I'm only getting close to being 42% for fire and EMS. We've heard a lot tonight from town employees, and I expect in our next agenda item, we're gonna hear more. What I've heard from town employees tonight, you guys are actually making my argument. It's just on the flip side of the coin. You guys, we're hearing from town employees, how much budget resets are gonna make things difficult. I want to remind you
what taxes being doubled in the last 2 to 3 years are making the same difficulty for our senior citizens on fixed incomes and our working family. My last point, Mr. Chair. Point of order, there's supposed to be no discussion from the public. My last point that I would like to make, Mr. Chair, it's not an either or. It's not either we cut or we reset spending, or we have to do revenue. This town council, and I'm proud to say, we've reached across the aisle, but I think, there's not much different. I mean, there's a lot of difference on the political spectrum for me and Councilor Street. How many times have we reached together?
At least 5 times.
Thank you. This council has already been and will continue to work on both issues as increasing revenue and reducing costs in the meantime. It's not that I'm advocating these cuts from here until kingdom come, but we're in this economic downturn. And our family, and I'm here to represent the 875 people that live here in Lincoln. Not just 80 or 100 or 200. We're here to represent and do what's best for all Lincoln residents. And the council deserves, and this is what I campaigned on, Mr. Chair, and I'm gonna continue as long as I am on the town council to deliver on my promises that I campaigned on during my campaign. So I will continue to be working on reducing property taxes, doing what's best, what can be afforded with our essential services, and get things kicked in the rear end to increase our revenue. Because I am just as frustrated with what this town government has done in the last 6 or 7 years. We've put us in this situation with not assessing all the taxes. And for some reason, Mr. Chair, I'm the bad guy. So I want to clear. Not advocating that we return to fiscal year 2021 budget level. That's disinformation. And I think it's pretty fair. I don't care if town employees or town employees, significant others advocate that we disregard and do away with certain departments so that other jobs can be protected. I'm gonna treat each department equally and fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can get behind the fire department because I went through firefighter 1 in 2002. I also was deployed twice. I know what it's like to be a servant. But I can tell you right now, this petty stuff that's in the newspaper, on Facebook, coming from past elected officials is very immature. That is why I don't get on Facebook. Not once have I advocated that I'm going to get rid of 2 jobs here, 3 jobs there, 5 jobs there. No, we got to tighten the belt. And it also was stated that the current town manager is going to be a henchman. I can quote things. I can remember when we was negotiating the ambulance. It was stated that we're gonna provide our needs, not our wants. And that ambulance is gonna go out to referendum because it's over $100,000. I can tell you right now, it is very petty for anyone to sit behind the keyboard and bash any one of us counselors, or the council bash the public. We have everyone's needs at heart. Like Councilor Allen said, we got 48+ people in this town. I'm advocating for everybody. I can honestly say
that our employment at the town level has doubled under the current administration. That is unsustainable because right now we have lost 50% of our revenue due to administrations not holding certain people's feet to the fire. And I know what I would do if I could be in that place as a private contractor. When do you, Mr. Castro, operate on a 70% payroll? None of us do. So I'm going to say right now, we have to tighten our belt. We have to stop the pettiness because this 12-year-old mindset has got to stop. And when I read the Lincoln News last week, because I was the first one that can read it, because I work Thursday mornings over there, I think it's pretty petty that certain people can hide behind and publish something that's not true. And can we, Mr. Chairman, have some dignity again? We all want to work for the benefit of this town. Let's stop fighting. I seen firsthand in Augusta what we can do when we come together, Representative Gifford. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. Let's work together for the common good of this people. Thank you.
%, you said 50% that we have not collected.
I would say probably in the realm of things, with what we have taken out of our reserves at 16-7% at some times, we should never be taking that because Tony Jessen said that we should only take 3, 4, 5%. So when we have to take our savings to offset a budget, that's not really being fiscally prudent.
50% of we've not been collecting 50% of our property tax.
I would say between our property taxes, between fees, between whatever. That's just what I feel that we're not collecting.
So that would mean that we would effectively, if we collected properly, we would double our revenue?
Probably more likely.
Then why don't we do that instead of cutting?
We should. We should, Mr. Councilor Street. And shame on the past administrations not holding people to the fire to make sure that everything is copacetic.
Okay.
We're
All right.
trying.
This isn't a back and forth. All right, anything else for open forum? No? This isn't gonna be a back and forth with councilors. I mean, it's gonna be a long night anyway. We're usually stick around afterwards if you can, you know, but I'd be more than happy to talk with you. But, all right, I'll close the open forum. Item 3, suggested motion, move to open a public hearing for the purpose of oral and written comments on the proposed fiscal year 2027 municipal budget as listed below.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 6-0. Started at 7:38. We'll go department by department. If you've already spoke on these issues in the last, unless you have something new, please don't speak again. It could be a long night. Okay, so fiscal year 2027 revenue budget. Any comments, questions?
If the council received the same information that I received as a budget committee member, then you're lacking a lot of information. There is no revenue budget attached to my information, so I don't know where you even got a figure of 5,171,761. Where did that figure come from? We talked about taking money out of some of these trust funds And I suggested that we do what Tony Jessen said and do the 3 to 5% that he suggested and stop dipping into these. I also wonder, how often do you receive your expense and revenue report from the finance department? Do you receive it monthly, which is required by law? Do you actually look at that to see if they're within the parameters of their expense and revenue collection? I really think that to hide behind not getting the information is not a good thing. You need to ask for the information so that you can make informed decisions. So as a budget committee member, where does 5,171,761 come from? And what are you taking out of your trust account to meet that goal?
Anyone else on the revenue budget? Okay, we'll move on to the town manager budget. Any comments, questions? Council?
My understanding is the town manager budget includes, only the 70,000 for your salary for your position. Correct. And what if unforeseen circumstances, you are unable to continue? Would we be able to hire another town manager for that amount?
That, sir, I do not have the answer to. I don't know what a going rate is for town manager other than what you paid the previous one.
So the previous one was paid considerably more. And I'm wondering whether or not that should be something we should consider in the budget amount for this line item, just in case, rather than have to come up short at some point later.
Yes, sir. But my understanding also is if something needs to be adjusted later, then they would come before the council for that, correct?
Can they do that? All right.
That's been my understanding. If I'm wrong, please let me know. That's my understanding.
It should, that we will have already sent out the property tax bill.
Yes, sir.
Anything else on the town manager budget? Yep.
There was a question during the public forum about the legal fees. And I'll point out that there's no change in the legal fees in the budget. They weren't reduced here or in the, different.
Anything else on town manager? Okay, move to town clerk. Any questions, comments on town clerk budget? Yep.
One party presented my budget to the budget committee and to the budget people that were, the council got the budget workshop last week. When I got word that Mr. Ireland had given some proposal, my department has 10,000 or so cut out of it, or proposed to cut out of it. So here's what I would like to further explain about my town clerk budget. Number one, a town clerk's office is service industry based. Basically the revenue that we get is very little. You're talking $1 or $2 here and there for an ATV registration, which they actually make it increase to $5. $3 for motor vehicle registration if you're a Lincoln resident. We could increase that to $6 for a Lincoln resident, but a few years ago, the council voted to keep the Lincoln residency at $3. But a non-resident that comes to the town office to register a vehicle, we're gonna charge them $6 for our town. The office in Lincoln is a service community. We don't serve just the Lincoln residents. We serve anybody around our area whose town office is closed on a Monday, closed on a Friday, not open till 5, only open 1 day a week for 2 hours. If we can do their transaction, we're happy to do it. So I need staff is what I need. No, we don't make a lot of revenues, although I could point out that in my revenue section, there are things that we do that we work out front and provide the service for, but the revenue is up in the finance budget. And if you take it out of the finance budget and actually move it to the people and the staff that is actually providing the service, I more than cover my budget. Because it's over $1 million, and my budget is not $1 million.
two of my line items out of the 9 that I have are wage lines. One is for my 5 total staff. One is for covering elections for each year when I have 2 to 3 elections in a year. The wage line also includes $4,400 of the council stipends, of which the council is paid quarterly. So you take that out of my wage line, that is not my staff in my department that I run. If you look at my other lines, line by line, travel and professional development are basically, they feed off each other. If I send somebody to a class, I need to pay them travel to get there if they're not doing something online. If you look at professional membership, my line item is for $6,972. If you take away $6,482, that leaves $490. The reason I say that is the $6,482 that is in that line item is for the town's Maine Municipal Association dues for the year, which increases every year. So the way I figure my budget on that line item is to increase it by about 5% every year. Most every time I've done that, it's come out okay. Once in a while, I've misbudgeted and I'm short. I think last year I was short $87, but it increases every year. And that is not the clerk, that is the town piece of the budget. I cannot cut my advertising line. The fees increase every year to the Lincoln News. That's not my fault, that's just the way the world works. I'd love to be able to cut that, but the town clerk has to post all the public notices that are required by law. That includes every town meeting that you all have as a council. I can't cut that. If I don't post a notice and you make a vote and the meeting wasn't properly noticed, somebody could come back and challenge that. So I make it very clear that I get these public notices out in time. Steve calls me numerous times to make sure. Do we have enough time for a meeting? We need to know that. My consumable line is $5,238. $3,712 of that is election sticks. Those are the USB sticks that go in the voting machines that everybody votes with. If I don't have those, you can't vote. Or you could, but then I'd be paying money for extra staff to hand count all these ballots and print ballots myself here that aren't coded. And state elections, they make you use them anyway, so. Yes, I could get rid of dog inserts. I'm willing to cut $320 out of that. I'm willing to cut $294 out of that. Keep in mind, if I cut that $294, that means that when you as the council say, hey, I'd like to get a plaque for this council that just resigned or, just didn't get reelected, I'm not gonna have the money to do that. When a new councilor gets elected, you guys all have nice nameplates. I won't be able to do a nameplate because that money is in that budget. The $372 of that consumable line are for miscellaneous office expenses that is not in the treasurer's budget. The treasurer's budget includes things like the standard stuff, paper, ink, toner, that sort of stuff. That $372 that I'm looking for is in case we need something like a new rubber stamp that I use just for election purposes, something specific just to my town clerk department. I don't think that's a whole heck of a lot to ask for. My equipment maintenance line is $1,270. That is in case I have 2 vaults in my front office. If I can't get into them on a day to do business, I can't do a vital record because I don't have access to the record. We wouldn't have cash boxes for the day. Until somebody was to get there, we would be basically done for business that day. And my last line is the town reports. While I understand a lot of things are going digital, that is one thing that I did ask Maine Municipal Law, which is part of that line of professional membership, a service I can ask Maine Municipal for. Am I allowed by law not to print copies of the budget? The answer to that was no. You have to at least have some physical copies. Yes, I could decrease it. The day that I was asked that question, that could I cut that line and not print any town report, the very next day, I had an elderly citizen come in and wanted a copy of last year's public report. I didn't have one. I was out. I printed 350 copies. There's many more than that here in town that would like a printed copy because the elderly don't get online, most of them. So if I take just those 7 lines and don't touch my wages at all, wages is a different story. My 7 lines total $25,330 in the clerk's office. A real town clerk office fee. Nothing to do with anything the council does, nothing to do with anything different than that. I'd like to know where you'd like me to cut $10,648 to run my department. That's service related.
Well, depends.
Does he like what you're gonna say?
The budget committee asked all department managers if they've gone to bid recently on some of these purchases, like the town report printing. When was the last time we went out to bid? Because we're paying, I think, a lot of money and it increases every year because I think the supplier probably anticipates the business. So we need to be more frugal in bidding processes. And I agree with, Ann, some of the stuff that's in here should be in her department, they should be in the town manager's department like the MMA do. But other than that. The rest stuff needs to stay in the department. I agree that there are only certain things we can cut. But I think we can be more diligent in this.
Thank you. Yeah.
So as far as the amount that I pay for that according to, I'm gonna lose it. What I have to do in order to go out to bid, it falls under the part of having to go out to bid, but I do have to get a quote from at least 2 sources. I do that every year. I always check with the Lincoln News to get their printing quote. Even giving them a 5% extra because they're a local business, they're still higher than any place else I do check with. So far, for the last 3 to 5 years, Snowman printing has been the cheapest. That's why I keep going there. But I do that every year.
Anything else on the town clerk? Okay, we'll move on to finance.
Tell you how long I lived here, I've been. I don't understand how our budget can be up just a smidge. County has assessed us more than 200.
Municipal budget, I misspoke. I was just talking about the municipal.
Well, and so that's what I'm asking. Have we accounted for the $250,000 increase in the county assessment? And have we accounted for the 11 to 14%? I don't know exactly what the school budget is going to be. I read 11 to 14%. Have we accounted for those numbers with our budget only being up a little bit? Because that's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, we got it.
We only have one more public budget hearing. That's part of your municipal budget. You gotta pay the county over $250,000 more than you paid last. That's all I'm asking is that needs to be accounted for, and the school's gonna go up 11 to 14%. We're gonna have to pay that. We don't have a choice. And if Mr. Jessen, God love him, he's terrific with our investment. If he said we can have 3 to 5%, that's not even gonna cover those 2 items. So please don't raid that investment account. We need that for the future. We truly do. Thank you.
Anything else on the finance budget? No. Go to assessing. Any comments on assessing? Nothing? Code enforcement, any comments? Code enforcement budget?
Fire Sanderson, live in Lincoln. Have we gone, or we got a date when we're gonna go to those properties that I documented, took pictures of the code violations around Folsom Pond, Upper Pond, Long Pond, most of the body of water, half Township Road, sewer running in the hole. Are we, do we have plans for this? Yeah. 2 months into spring weather.
Good.
I'm Vincent Carter, I'm the code enforcement officer. So I've been in office for 7 weeks now. I have 49 letters to residents to clean up, keep and grab. 6 properties that did not have permits on file. We fixed properties that don't come up to standards. I've sent them letters of concern because they have properties that have been in that are not safe. I heard you guys see me in my vehicle going around town. That's probably working on the outside now. And I'm looking at every single property, road by road by road. It's gonna take a long time because I print off the whole street and I look up everything I have. And I go out and I drive that road and take comparisons of what I have. So it's not gonna happen anytime soon, but yes, I'm currently working on every single road in Lincoln to make sure that we have, everything is up to date. And that we have everything we need to have to be fine. And with doing this is gonna take some time, but hopefully when I come back in a year, I have a thing accomplished this much, I can tell you that. Well, within 7 weeks, I've already accomplished quite a bit, I believe, and I'll continue to do so.
Thank you, Nick.
Sir, thank you.
Dick, yes, I'm thinking about getting a sticker for your car with the road runner, because you're like TPTPU every time I'm driving around town. But on a more serious note, are you familiar, do you have a list of the properties that Mr. Sanderson
I
just
have not
mentioned?
seen that list. I'm familiar with the list, but I've not seen the list itself. I've only seen the list that has to do with assessment. But I can. I will give it any.
Yeah, is that something?
We'll find. Further there.
Is that something that you could meet with Mr. Sanderson and kind of give us an update for the next council?
Yeah, I can put it in my monthly.
Yeah, that should be from the town manager, not the council. Not a councilor.
That's true. Well, okay. So, Mr. Town Manager, could you orchestrate that so you can give us a
Are you
status?
speaking on behalf of the council or yourself? Because I
Myself.
think the council will generally agree with that sentiment, right? So, yes, yes, it is. But I just wanted to make sure that we had that. But the councilor said yes, they agree. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So could you provide us with a status update for our next town council meeting? Thank you.
I'm gonna read it for give you that reporting of what they're doing. The properties they visited, how much their fees they collected. Same with the assessor. If they're doing their job and they're not assessing, they should be reporting on a monthly basis how many properties they visited or whatever. There's no reason for that not to have to report so that you can be up to date with what's going on in the department.
Thank you. Thank you, Tibet.
I would put for.
Which properties?
The 156 ideas that I got to go do.
Thank
you. Round, Pokemon.
So I'm gonna recommend a local correction permit going through and working with residents and the findings that I found I've already completed some big time as I had been with, actually to be quicker with the people on new properties. Will be easier to find people who don't have permits on file. Some of it is they have them and we just don't have them on file, but it was like that as well. Where they've been given permitted, signed, but it doesn't want to get the property. Can you guys talk into the mic, please? The people at home just can't hear you. Sure. So when we're looking at breaking permits, we're collecting fees on permits as well as getting on file or validating the fees that pay. Reported in we have a Excel file that has lists of everything. So I'm making sure that those are taken care of. If they're not, then they're requiring you to pay to the permit. Or if there's no permit, it's something you can build it up. That's what we have on file. That's we can fight to build it up.
But I want to clarify this. It sounds like we're getting blurred between assessment and code enforcement. If Mr. Moisen has entered all but 2 or 3 properties, then what needs to happen to address the code enforcement issues that Mr. Sanderson just referenced?
Rio and testing have to do a lot more with reporting for what's there. Permits don't, we have a record of payment for Rio, but we don't have a permit. We can choose to pay for them. Or we can keep all the permits.
But what's it gonna take? It sounds like we've got 2 different points that are not connected. As far as the code enforcement violation on these properties.
So it's just what takes time for you to go through and to get these properties. Not gonna look at a property and know they have no way of locally checking them on site, have to print out the list. In order to see what the permits are there, what they paid for, I have to reference back to the year with permits to see when the property was built. Some of the information is too Rio or you go into Rio, you can't just pull up and say, show me this one property, because if somebody put it in right same way that I do it, somebody else does, I can't pull right up. So,
well, just so that Mr. Chair doesn't slap my hand again. Mr. Tom Manager, could you, again, that's what I'm looking for a status update is on the code enforcement potential violations that Mr. Sanderson has mentioned.
You were looking to see how many of those have been addressed, is that what you're asking?
Right.
process I've been doing, or
No, I don't know if Mr. Sanderson can elaborate, but I don't think there's 156 code violations.
so there's a within that 150.
I'm focused on right now code violations. If we've got raw sewer going in the water, we can't wait until all 156 or whatever properties are in Trio or in this or in that. We got to get after those code violations.
So that was the first thing I did the first 3 weeks. I drove every road, every lake, river, stream, down ATV trails to find properties that were not compliant. They didn't have septic systems, they didn't have porta johns on site, which is by law what we have to have.
But it sounds like we're not sure if we connected with Mr. Sanderson with his list.
Correct. I already looked reference some of those. I've already sent them out. I don't know the list that we had in order to reference the process.
So, Mr. Town Manager, that's what I'm requesting an update on our next council meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else with that? Well, we'll move on to the police department. You want to put police department budget?
I was just gonna say, I remember how hard it was for us to get and how long it took to find these. And I'm really very pleased with the ones we've got. And I just really very concerned. The last thing I would want us to do is gut his department or cut it substantially. Both for some of the reasons I've said before, but because I'd rather make sure that we don't lose our police. Thank you for coming.
I don't know if anybody had questions about my budget, especially since a couple of you weren't there last week, so I don't know if you had some questions about where my budget is and why it's at where it is. I can explain everything as well.
Any questions?
Like if you. 110% that, and I think we need to know that. I would much rather we decide how to. Just say I'm slacking this or I'm slacking that. I mean, I think if we look back at the budget the way it was. You had, for example, you had $6,000 in the 21 budget for training. 3,000 of it was for ammunition. So you're talking $3,000 to train police officers for the whole year. That wasn't adequate. Yeah, I couldn't even send it. Every class we have to send somebody, somebody's gonna have to stay over. Yeah, it's not very rarely, I guess I have, there's a case that we start with next week, that's a bad one. But other than that, we're ways along. And when we train our officers, they do, it's all the people long worth of training. Right? And it's only 3 to 5 years to be good at that job. 5 years old, actually. And that's kind of where I'm at as far as my increases in my budget. One, the cars in my budget. So that wasn't in on my budget. So if you look at that, that increased it quite a bit. That should be in, say, captain debt service. So that should be a debt service and not in my budget. The other big increase is in the contract. And you have to be able to pay our police officers what other agencies are being paid. And I'm not talking your police department. I'm talking, when you compare it, I took MMA wages study. And a police officer, an average police officer, is taking around $34 an hour. Right? And that's the average. Our police officers are below. We have to get them at least up. I'm not saying that we need to pay the most, we need to be the elite police department, right? I need to be in the hall. And I need to be able to recruit people, keep people happy. And that's from training, education, and making sure that they're safe on the road. And no officer wants to be out there by himself. And unfortunately, the last few years, that's the way it's been. We're trying to build it out so that you at least have 2 police officers on at a time. There's calls that they go to that are not safe going one off. And that's how it was run for many years. That we were running one officer. It's not safe. And I think somebody in the budget committee said that if I didn't feel safe, I shouldn't be doing the job. That's not it. It's that you need to have the right people to make sure that we're safe. Because if you don't, we're putting ourselves in liability. The town's putting ourselves in liability. I'm putting myself in liability by not having the right people. So I just wanted to bring that. I think one of the big things is the school resource officer. I mean, obviously the school decided to cut it out of their money, right? And they used to pay 2/3. We had talked about paying half this year. They took that out of their budget. I understand they've got other things that they were trying to put in their budget. I get it. I think it's important. I think it should be in the budget. But the question comes to the council. Do you want to support that full time? Right? My first goal is patrol needs to get there, but we need somebody to do it. It's important. Keep us safe. Keep the kids safe. You don't know what's gonna happen until it happens. You could say not much happens after 3 a.m. until something happens. The other thing that I did, the budget committee, I discussed that we took out was the in-car camera systems. Like I spoke to them about with the in-car camera systems, is we got the body cams last year, which was great, but it only shows a portion of what we sometimes do. I actually just chaired the committee for the shoot review in Bangor from last year, and they have both in-car and body cams. What caught that scene was the cruiser cam pointed in the right direction, right? And that told the story where it wouldn't have with the body cam, because they're underneath cars, they're leaning up with the rifle. It wouldn't have got what we really needed to see. Same thing when we get in vehicle chases. We can't see, all I can see on a vehicle chase, right in front of me. So I can't see what's going on in the scene. The minute we mitigate our life, so I think we talked about taking that out because I have a grant for $500,000 that might fit that, might. It's a congressional spending money, but I don't know that for sure. But the conversation that the budget committee and I had was that we would get that, we would buy that on this year's budget, and then next year, this budget coming that we're approving, we wouldn't put it in with the hopes that we could buy it in that grant. If we can't, then we'll re-look at that in for the 27 or for the 28 budget. But I would need that approval to spend that around $13,000 now so that we can buy it now and then wait on the grant for the rest to see, because that would be that 1 year, that first year. It's about a 4 or 5 year contract with Axon. And it's technology. Technology costs money, a lot more than it used to, right? That's why my programs are up. The technology is a big thing. So that's something else that I think that needs to be addressed, is the money for the car cameras, because I don't want that to go forgotten about. So. That's a great question. I had been waiting on the VEX grant for over a year. And I just got some money for that, not very much, but that's something you get every year. And for some reason, the last year has been super pain with federal grants. It's all approved, but we haven't made it to the next step yet, which is pretty much, it's been signed by the president. We have the money, but you pretty much have to then reapply and put it all back and do the whole process again and to be able to start spending the money. And we haven't made it to that step.
But you made the first step for the in-car camera.
No, so part of that grant might be able to pay part of that, but I have to get to that part before I can know that. So, but I don't want to not get these in-car cameras. I think it's a great tool that we're missing on many different situations.
Dollars you need us to approve for this fiscal year, the
Yeah.
26 fiscal year, and what is that 13,000 covered?
So it would cover the install of it in the first year
The install.
and the
of-
first year.
I see. We would pay for the installation before we'd actually have the equipment.
So it all covered in that same cost. So it's like, it's just like the cruiser, it's just like the body cameras. Axon does like an à la carte menu.
Yeah.
So they deal with lots of public safety. So instead of saying you're gonna pay $100,000 upfront, right? Nobody's gonna buy that. But what they're saying is we can get you this in-car camera for $13,000-14,000 for that 5 years.
Oh, so this is one in-car camera.
So it's 4 in-car cameras.
4 in-car cameras.
Yeah.
For 13,000.
Yes, around that. It's a little, we had 5 in there. We took one out because one's in the SRO, was in the SRO's car. So we took that out of them.
And I forgot the other one, so.
No, that was, my wife says I don't explain things well.
Correct an erroneous statement made earlier today. The fire department revenues in total are less than $1 million. That's far short of the fire department's total budget, which offhand I can't see what it is, but it's in excess of $3.
In the process of trying to convince neighboring towns that they should increase how much they're paying us in contract for fire and EMS services, I think it's not a good time for us to be talking about cutting the budget because we're talking about cutting services which we're trying to sell them on.
Do you have anything?
Yep.
Okay, can you put the mic back up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a young kid take care of it for you. Young lady. There you go.
Broke it, Dave.
Go ahead.
We're gonna send you.
Yeah. Do you have questions? You want me to just start talking?
Well, do we have any questions? For the Chief, go ahead.
How come the vehicle fuel hasn't gone out from 26? It's still pretty much, it's only an $800 increase.
We went to our gallons, and when Melissa was here with our gallons, and didn't the price,
So years past, we basically budgeted 30% more than what you needed? Because fuel's up about 30%.
thing is with fuel, it's if we don't use it, it stays in the budget.
Okay,
It's going into the draft.
okay, thank you.
Because you know that in the last year, we have got 2 new paramedics that we have trained. We've got 2 new advanced EMTs we have trained. We've got at least 2 basic, if not 3 basic, we have trained, and most of that is with grant money. So we've done well with grant. Our equipment is in fair condition. It's run, it's getting to the fires, it's getting old. All of our equipment is 20 years plus, but it's getting us to fires. We've got a very well-trained crew. They respond to anything and everything comes in the station, no neglect. We had complaints about fire trucks and ambulances both going to the scene, but we have people that need to be picked up at the scene. And sometimes it takes 3 people or more to pick them up. Yeah.
What would be the impact of a hiring freeze on the fire department per year?
As long, you're talking if people leave?
Well, your guess.
As far, we have a personnel right now with a cardiac issue. He should be back. But if he doesn't come back, if we don't fill his shift, then we're gonna be filling his shift with overtime. So that would be a big impact. We're filling his shift now with overtime.
Mr. Chairman?
I remember a few years back, we hired a full-time mechanic over to the Public Works. Are we using them?
We are when it's possible, but that full-time mechanic is also plowing snow and servicing all the plow trucks. And he's a very busy man, so it's hard to use him.
Well, the full-time mechanic should not be plowing snow. And it was said that according to MMA, he only can have 9 to 12.
I
pieces
take
of
plow
equipment.
snow. I know he's busy with a plow truck and doing, I'll take it back, the plow snow. He's busy with a plow truck and doing what George has to be done with his regular job.
So that was one of the big things we fully hired the full-time mechanic was to maybe service the police cruisers, oil changes, windshield wipers, tire changes. And same
And we
thing
do,
with,
and he does when it's available, when he's available. He hasn't got something tore down. Something that's tore apart that he can't get to our equipment, he'll work on it. But if he's tied up,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to direct the town manager. I remember in the past that we was gonna have, monthly reports back to us, what's been worked on, what has been scheduled, what money's being spent. And that needs to come to the council to get a good understanding of,
On all town people.
yes, making sure that best practices are being taken care of.
Any other? Lee, did you have something? Did you have something? No? Anybody, anything else for the fire department? John, can we get this mic fixed up here, the thing, somehow it's stuff loose.
Hello, I'm Ken Joslin. Steve Brown is the subject matter. Uh, 70 years. Experience and the knowledge that we have is primarily dismissed for the most part. There's a disconnect between numbers on the paper and the service we deliver in the field. It's hard to not be passionate about it because I've bled for it. Bled for it. For it. Not because I wanted to, I just volunteered. Sure, it's easy to get hurt. Sometimes unavoidable. Times you can do everything right. People still get hurt. People still die. It's an unfortunate aspect of our job that despite how hard we can try. That being said, I would be remiss if I did not come to you and plead with tears in my eyes to tell you the most important resource we have as a fire department is our staff. We fought for years. No one ever came down and said, hey, we got some extra money this year. You guys need some firemen? Never, not once. We had to fight. I was hired here in 2007. The call volume was 300 or 400 calls a year. It was 7 of us. When the mill shut down, they cut one. We went down to 6. We had to work 56-hour weeks to keep the shifts covered. For 17, 18, almost 10 years. We did. For the final day of 40 shifts. We can work for even 42. Fire department. Fired. It was in the ballpark. It's just coming from rusty memory. Okay, I'm sure Chairman Clay remembers those years. $300,000 or $400,000. About 99% of it was wages to pay for the full-time firefighters. We had a $3,000 maintenance budget. We had a $300 fire prevention budget. Bare minimum. You know, the fire prevention budget goes to buying hats and coloring books for kids in the schools when we do fire prevention week. So we can hopefully prevent kids from becoming fire setters, or at least make them more aware of what to do in an emergency, right? So many of these things were funded bottom dollar for years. When they cut our budget, when the mill shut down, we lost a firefighter. I worked alone. One man on shift from July 1st until October, when we completed impact bargaining. The worst few months of my life. I would say that not knowing what the last few months of my life will be working now. That's a joke, sorry. It's been difficult, and like I say, I try not to take it personally. It should not be personal. I understand it's business. I understand we have to look out for the needs of everybody in this town, and I do not envy any of you sitting up there today. I really don't. I know it's not an easy job, but I also don't have an easy job. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, I'm the president of the Lincoln Firefighters Association. So I was elected by the majority of my peers to speak for them. And that's what I'm here to do. So if there must be cuts, if the belt must be tightened, I beg you to ensure that we can maintain our staffing. Because when lives hang in the balance, it's people that can make the difference. And if we're short of those people, we will get hurt, we can get killed, civilians will get killed. You can look at the history of any fire department that's been cut and lost any amount of staffing. The people suffer the most. People that we serve. And on top of that, the majority of the population we serve are the impoverished. They call 911 more than anybody. They don't have access to regular health care. They can't afford to go to the doctor, but they can call 911 and we'll show up every single time, no matter what. I guess that's all I have. I just implore you to remember those things. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had no intention of speaking tonight. I honestly didn't. My name is Terry Magnet. I work for the Lincoln Library. Beautiful library, just thought I'd share. But I'm going to talk to you about other departments that have impacted my life humongously as a mom. The police department. Because of that. And an officer came to my house and let me know. But I need to do that. I am gonna talk. I live in a small community. Mine's done. Mine's busy. I can help with those. And I am in Boston. And I want to pay. Even though I showed up. And he knew. And he knew. It's one thing that you want to know about me. The thing that you're all- Yeah. Well, and, I think maybe we can make part, you know, there will never be enough.
It doesn't have someone to really care about them because it's a small town. I don't want people who don't know us showing up because the best part of everything was I knew everybody who showed up. My community rose up. And that made my heart happy during tragic times. Thanks.
Thank you. Fire in May? No? We move to fire station? Any comments on fire station? Public station.
Nothing to cut. If you wanna keep maintaining it, that's everything we need.
What's, how much of that is rent and how much is for?
How much of it's what?
Rent?
No rent.
No rent.
That's all, that's all.
So what, when you're talking about,
There's two doors in front of the building that you have to kick open to get up because it's settled, building settled, doors are rusted. We need fans put in the building, taking the exhaust out. There's a lift that $40,000 to repair that, but we'll never get that this year. That's not enough. But we've been for the last 5 years, last council, and just wanted us to stop with my new building, get it somewhere to back up. Full work. Safety come over and big violations on the floor. The flooring has rough spots, like it has doorway. Some of the floors inside breaking away.
Gonna take, if I can go there as a safety person and say, hey, these things need to be fixed. You don't have, some of it, they don't have any money to fix. The problem you're gonna have is BLS is gonna show up one of these. And when they show up, we're gonna have to fix we should be working towards being in the SHAPE program. They're actually coming to the police department as a voluntary thing to start the SHAPE program for the police department. But we don't want to come into some of these other buildings. We need to start looking at really fixing.
We just went to $40,000 a year, this is the last 2 years.
They don't have an exhaust system.
Right, which is, well, building the houses, fire engines, not having exhaust is,
To me, that blew my mind. When I
Yeah.
first came here and learned, didn't have an exhaust. Proper exhaust system for fire. Blew my
right?
There are legal fees and definitely nightly that you can smell in the bunk room, the original bunk room that we've had, and that's been going on for years.
If there's gas and diesel stored inside,
It's not gas, and gas fumes. Someone started, with the exhaust from the,
don't we have hoses go on to the
we have what?
hoses that vent through the door?
We have, no, we do not. We do not have any exhaust system.
That's
Never
the
had.
most cheap economic way, besides putting in a blower system, is having hoses out through the door.
As long as main labor will approve some of them. Some of them will not.
Well, we ought to look into that. We also ought to look into, I heard through the grapevine, that the overhead doors are gonna cost, what, 20 grand? We could repair. I mean, that building's only 20 years old. We could do, well, 30 years old. We could do,
We've had to put a lot of money into the doors. But one is bad.
I mean, you can replace tracks, you can replace rollers that will run there.
It's all from the sewer. Cracked up.
I mean, sometimes you can do a due diligence and repair instead of just want new. I mean, I have a 82-year-old Jeep that I run. I have a 38-year-old pickup I run. I have a 20-year-old pickup I run. We have to start being fiscally conservative instead of just, all right, we need new doors. If we can repair that door to get us down the road, that might be the thing that we need.
And that's exactly what we have been doing, repairing.
David?
Chief. I grew up, my dad had 5 Texas stations. I don't, my understanding with the firehouse is there's only a garage door in one end of the bay, right?
The firehouse is, no, it's got 3 main doors and a small door at one end of the bay and a small door in the middle of the bay.
Well, I guess where I'm getting at is you back the fire trucks into the bay, right?
That's correct.
And there's not a door that you can,
Yes, there is. Right in between.
so you can exhaust you can exhaust the exhaust with the trucks being backed in.
Yes, there was no exhaust, there's no free back there.
No, but what I'm getting at with Councilor Hennington's suggestion of using hoses, you don't have a door in the back to exhaust those fumes outside,
We
correct?
have one door in the back, yeah, one man door in the back.
But you can't exhaust the fumes when you back the truck in, using that door. Well, whatever door, you've gotta, I'm asking, you guys correct me, I just wanna understand this, you gotta back the trucks in, correct? So, I mean, I like the idea of using a hose to direct the exhaust outside, but I don't, is there an opening through the back wall to put a hose through it?
So only if a man door in the back.
Okay.
And you would have hoses all over the fire station floor, you'd have tripping hazards, it would be a problem.
No. So the only way that you could use exhaust hoses on your fire truck is if there's a hole in your garage doors to feed the.
And you can have them to be able to jump when they stop.
Right.
You jump and you go.
Right.
That's
Right. My second question is, have you looked at grants to do some of these updates.
Have you looked at grant? We definitely have looked at grant, and this is gonna be an answer of a grant several years ago. So.
2008, the town of Lincoln received a $300,000-ish from FEMA's Assistance to Firefighters Grants, which is the largest grant giver in the US. It's a federal level grant. The short version of the story is that the town council refused to accept the grant because there was a $3,000 match.
That was in 2007.
Yes, but what I'm saying is we've tried this avenue before. We rejected a federal level grant that would have covered an entire professional fire truck, aid, exhaust system, station, along with lots of stuff. And that has severely hurt the ability to get more of those grants.
I'm going to speak on behalf of myself. I want to hold this council to a council from 19 years ago. I am all in favor of grants. In fact, I spoke with Selectman Mike Mishu 2 weeks ago up in East Millinocket. And it was frustrating for me to learn that East Millinocket has 4 ambulances, and the last 2 ambulances they were bought with grants. And we just bought another ambulance and we're paying for it on the backs of our property tax. So, I'm sorry that happened 19 years ago, but, at least I'm gonna speak on the behalf of myself. Every grant that you can pick up so that we can cut the property tax burden on all of our homeowners.
Got an email that the town of Lincoln has too much money, we do not need our money, your town has too much money. And then that has turned into 3 other grant people saying the same exact. We have gone, at least when I started back in 2020, full time, we went, now we got 6 grants, everybody gets 6 grants and we're told the same thing every single time. We've given up because we've been told the same thing over and over and over.
My suggestion would be talk with the economic development team because they've knocked this whole art of getting grants. Thank you.
Anything else for fire station?
One thing struck a nerve. Not just the fire department. We know the fire department. Reputation when it was built was less than perfect. Everybody can remember Mr. Weatherby, that was a counselor. If it wasn't for him, there's a lot of things that wouldn't have been built right. Because he was overseeing it, looking by.
Yeah, I was in high school when that was built, but yeah, you are right. Yeah. But you are right.
So it's a less than perfect building, even when it was brand new. It bothered me, talking about maintenance of buildings. It's not just the fire department that lacks with an issue. Sure, this is later on, really, that's it. That public works building we got over there, that was pitched on the point that the old one is run down, it's not feasible, not even safe to be in. So here we are later on, not taking care of our building. Till they fall down around and we say, hey, we need a new one, because that's what took place in public works. That the building was dilapidated because it didn't get regular maintenance. Now it sounds like we're starting down that same path. That's pretty. That we didn't learn a lesson. So hopefully we learned that.
Anything else for the fire station? No, we'll move on to utilities and municipal services. I'm just gonna wait a minute, let them all walk out forward. Yep. Just gonna wait till everyone leaves. We're just gonna wait till everyone leaves before we try to start talking. Yep. Well, let's take a 5-minute recess. Just a good. Utilities and Municipal Services. Do you have any questions or comments? You're on to Public Works. Do you have any questions, comments? Public Works? Council? Oh, yes.
concern the price of fuel being what it is right now would be better. The way Mr. Bowman was concerned, it's something that we could look at and say, but he would not want that for put into account. The previous one, to go ahead, because of the quote that we got, and George probably could correct me. The quote that we got is very competitive to what last year's fuel prices were, so we voted as a council to go ahead and move ahead with the paving that we were gonna do this year. Very good. Did I get that right, George?
Mr. Chairman, and I think the only thing we agreed on, and if George may correct us, is to finish the sidewalks, correct? Not that?
Sidewalk we discussed yet.
Oh,
I'm still
okay.
Trying to get permission.
All right.
The paving for town farm.
Yeah.
At Norfolk Street. And what we can shim and stuff on Frost Street. Price come in much lower than it was last year.
Yeah.
So. That's why.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fiscal year 2026.
Right, yeah.
Anything else on Public Works?
Thank you, George.
Transfer station? Questions, comments on the transfer station?
Does this budget transfer station does not take into account the transfer? Okay, all right.
Just the lower tipping fee.
Just the tipping fee, right, okay.
Our compliments to the transfer station crew. To keep the place tidy, tough job, they're great ambassadors in the town, so. And they. Thanks very much.
Anything else? Transfer station? Yep, go ahead.
Hi, Max Gorman, I'm a Lincoln resident, and I was on the budget committee. One idea, transfer station, and it wasn't very popular in the budget committee, but I want to bring it up to you guys. Is the transfer station could make revenues you wanted to charge for that. I know a lot of other transfer stations, a lot of other small towns that they do, go to the town office, buy a bunch of stickers. Pay $1 a sticker, you have to put a sticker on your bag. I don't know how many bags go through that transfer station, but it must be hundreds of thousands every year. So the town could make hundreds of thousands of dollars by charging residents a bag. Want to throw that out there.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Snowman, we did look at this in years past. And we had talked about maybe going with the colored bag. Because a lot of us thought at that time, even my late sister, who was a big pusher of that, is simple fact, I use 3 bags of garbage a week. If I had to pay for my bags, it would probably force me into recycling more. So that is something that we could look at. And not only that, if we paid, the residents paid for that blue bag or yellow bag, then that might deter some of the contractors dumping stuff in our dump stuff.
Yeah, I'll also say, I think it's a fair, you know, the example, like when I go to the dump, I see 2 classes of customers there. There are people that show up in a truck, you know, with 20, 25 bags or a trailer. And then there are people like, my stepmother-in-law, that's like 1 bag.
Hmm.
So why should they? So there, like days ago, I followed with the Jeep with Connecticut plates, and a trailer on the back with Connecticut plates.
Dump pass. Maybe we can have some meetings in the future.
Yeah, I have patients who struggle to pay the bills. And when those are the same people who are struggling to pay their property taxes, I think that this is one place we want to be careful not to cut, because the same people that we're trying to help end up using this service sometimes. So.
Anything else for social services, general assistance? No. Move on to cemetery, parks and recreation. Oh.
Right, and the speech was. I wanted to speak tonight about the importance of Lincoln Cemetery and parks and rec. When I was a kid growing up, my brother and I participated in every single program that was but we did everything. It was a lifelong love of sports for both of us, and it wasn't just that, it was arts and crafts. There were lots of different things. The affordability of the rec program really helped my family. Remember looking up to the high school kids that worked at the rec and just being in total awe of those kids. It's gonna date me, but I can remember the Lane kids, Allison Smith, Joey Faulkner, I remember, Josh Bolt. They were all role models, my friends. When I had my children, and we lived away, when we decided to move back to Lincoln, there were 3 reasons that we moved. The first one was obviously family. The second was the recipe, and the third was the life. I believe we were looking for. So my side of school, they enjoy spring restaurants, which is what the team is. Basketball, one game. Today, the opening here meeting and my son Evan, he puts his work boots on at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday and works his butt off to make sure that our cemetery and our he is going to Everything is really black and night, our cemeteries are top notch, I don't know if you. But like, for, if you check on someone else, the cemetery, people are really complaining. Not being taken care of. I'm really proud to say that the young people that take care of the cemetery, the summer do an impeccable job, and they really, really do a good job, and in town, it always looks better. My other son, Owen, is a lifeguard at the beach, and he really enjoys it. He has all the certifications, so he can swim lessons. The kids, he really enjoys being able to model appropriate behavior for the younger people there, to mentor younger kids down at the beach, and to monitor to make sure that not only are they safe swimming, but it's important, and I would say that this leadership at the beach really remain in that part. My done a good job, and the kids that work here, the young people, they're all kids now, right? But like the young people that work in the summertime, they are still that high caliber of young people that they were when I was a kid, and I looked up to them. I think it speaks volumes for the program. And I know there's a lot of kids that that's all that they have, and including like getting lunches at the and things like that. So I just know that, you know, money isn't everything, and Lincoln is, you know, work for the town, only one town is better. And I'm passionate, and you can get credit for it. It's a beautiful small town. We have an amazing fire department. Our library is over 100 years old and it's gorgeous. And the rest really, really does a fantastic job. So I really hope that if we're cutting things or missing things like that, that we'll really consider that if you look at some other small towns that are in similar situations, they don't have nearly the quality of place that we have. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Dave?
I don't know where she went. Just for the record, not only do I have social media, but I live directly across from the South Lincoln Cemetery.
One beautiful cemetery, one like township road way out there. They're all taken care of with incredible care, and they're wonderful. They're beautiful places, and you know, for with brothers at McDonald's and stuff like that, those young people that are left in our town, they're doing it. They could be making more money somewhere else, maybe if they have pride in the work, so.
Anything else on cemetery, parks and recreation? No, move on to library. Comment?
Many of these companies, I come from generations of firefighters. My husband was a fall firefighter. My daughter's dating a police officer in my phone with today. But today I'm here in the library. I don't think anybody else is acknowledging the work these ladies do. There's rumors run around that in small towns. And I'm hearing councils are pushing to 5 hours. Staff cut. And hope to close the door to make the lunch library a home for historical society. If that's true, it's graceful.
Excuse me, I'm president of the Historical Society. I've never heard that. So I hope, well, it's false. from the Historical Society, I'll tell you that right now.
Losing this public asset would be a great. We will never get this back. Cutting our staff to part-time would hurt our community. I came to this library as a kid. I remember at 5 or 6 years old getting a book about a two-story building for council out of the book. I brought my kids, now bring my grandbabies there. Tonight, I'm here for the kids and to be a voice for the ones who have no voice. I have been a BHP in the community for the past 6 years. The library has done a very important part of helping my young clients. My job requires work to be done in the community, but Lincoln has nothing for kids except the library, practice our art. But the library has always done a constant. I teach boundaries, social skills, communication skills, and appropriate peering processes, to name a few. Library. Working with kids and adults with physical, behavioral, and mental disabilities. This isn't just a 100-year-old building with book. It has evolved into a social hub. So it's not a paradigm fitting in because of behavior and disabilities. The library is welcoming, it's safe, it's warm, and our clients have developed great friendships with years, the librarians, workers other than our own, and even other patients who come on a regular basis. I know that there's 12 other PhDs or PhDs that utilize the library 5 days a week for 6 hours at a time. Last Tuesday, the children's library had 58 people, and that doesn't include the people that went upstairs. The librarians have gone out of their way to provide opportunities to everyone, including kids programs that offer story time in a class, patient's choice in the afternoon that allows access to anything the library has to offer, or that we want to bring in and share. A writing club, a summer reading program, and movies on the lawn. That's nice thing, including the homeschooling opportunity. Negatively impacting so many people on our community. I know a lot of people drive by that library, start talking about my house, maybe airport too. The majority of our people are parking out back and using 3 parking lot. So yes, there may be 1 or 2 people outside. Go around the back. Take a look what these girls are doing. They're doing great things with limited budget. I know Miss Warner, and the kids all call her. She has a snack and the kids are hungry, she shares. They are a great asset and for the hours, staffing, we're for our community. We need to invest in our kids. They have nothing here. We can't cut it. What our kids are looking forward to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have anything else on the library?
Program, even for adults. When I came to town in '88, I joined the library. I feel I should have I've seen the program. I've been involved with it. At the library. And the biggest one that I really enjoy doing is on Tuesday afternoons to do sunset work. It's where we can go in and learn, or out learning, some of our past things that maybe we can teach somebody else new. So I do support the library. I also support the Free Library. I have many people in my own family that across the state of Maine that has worked for either Fire Medical. So I'm a citizen here in Lincoln, and I don't see that we need to cut anything that is helpful.
Thank you, Karen.
Everybody checking the car.
I didn't bring the street rod.
Mine's open. Close to bottom, so. All right,
No, I parked at the Historical Society with this.
all right. Anything else for the library? Move on to personnel. Any questions, comments on personnel?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I didn't make any budget committee meetings, but workers' comp, have we? Maybe within the last couple of years have gone out to see if there's any self-insured groups out there that we could join, or a different carrier that we might be able to trim up this workers' comp. Or can someone explain to me how we pay our workers' comp?
Yeah.
For me,
If you know.
I don't need to know the answer, but I think that's one of the benefits we get to. But what the rates are, that's not my.
What was the question? Well, I'm just kind of curious, like, as far as the workers' comp, I mean, that seems to be high with the number of employees that we have. I mean. Okay, first of all, police force, I'm the pretty guy that works town hall. Yeah. Once in a while. Yeah. That was my background, before I retired. Left the house almost 6 years ago.
Ed, could you go to the mic, please, Ed? Yeah. I was thinking of Sandy when.
See, that's what you were talking about. I figured that. I worked for an insurance carrier for 42 years, commercial insurance. I was the manager of premium water department, and the way that works with workers' comp, you buy your workers' comp policy once a year, you pay. So every year we do an audit, and we determine what the actual earned premium is. So if you go up based on your payroll, or if you go down, if payroll that they had was lower than what the estimates were. Honestly, when I first started at Town Hall, Mr. Bronson hired me and wanted me to take a look at it. I expected to go gangbusters to find all kinds of low-hanging fruit where we could reap some benefits. The prior treasurer, Melissa, had worked a pretty good deal with MMA on their prior audits. And it was a pretty time-consuming process for Melissa to do this audit, and I probably cut that time that she took to do the audit down to maybe 10% at first time. But so the way it works, Kelvin, is you're also experience rated based on claims. And keep our fingers crossed. The last couple of years, the experience mod was a debit, which means I think we're paying upwards of 20% more based on prior experience. We had some pretty bad losses, I think, can't remember exactly what they were, and this is prior to my time. But that mod goes down based on if you don't have any losses, you know, it's all about the premium that pays with expected losses. So I haven't taken a look at it in a while, and it's something I had mentioned to Wade a few months ago that I'd be happy to take a look at it again. I think what we did last year is we adjusted the table so that we didn't get as big of an additional premium when the policy expired. So that the audit's been done, and I don't know, I'd have to look and probably reach out to FMA
find out what the actual earned premium was, but it wasn't. It's not gonna be as much as last year, but in this year, fingers crossed, if we keep the experience with, it should go down even more. I could probably give you an estimate and I give Jim. Right now, I'm kind of helping out, Cindy's on vacation, they got me doing payroll. So I wanna get the guys paid, and the women paid, and the premium. But, I can take a look at that and maybe give away the information before we report to you guys, but, it's something that, honestly, I love this town and I was pleasantly surprised, because I really thought I was gonna be able to win and reap some benefits based on our knowledge. My wife was in the same business, probably as long as me, I met her. And I left that. But anyway, long story about that, I'll tell you about that. But, you know, together we were talking and, I think as far as the workers' comp stuff, first of all, you gotta understand something about workers' comp. Municipalities are not a market for travelers or the Hartford or any of the big companies you see. You're lucky that you have a facility like MMA that put this through, because, Bronson had me a couple of years ago checking with some of the brokers, and they kind of, after they got done there, you want to share Lincoln, they said, no, you're pretty well off to stay with MMA. So I think we're doing okay. I'm happy to do the audits continually, because like I said, I know how to properly satisfy the employees, and yeah, I give Melissa a little credit. She worked a deal where, the real rules of workers' comp is the public works department should be paying the basic rate for street and road construction for the whole year, because you're supposed to have an actual payroll split. But she worked out that during the winter months, probably doing predominantly snow plowing, which is about $3 a hundred, big lower than that. So she probably, over the course of the year, saved the town about $7,000 or $8,000. I keep buying. You know, question.
Thank you. Anything else on personnel?
One of the questions that the budget committee has. Looking how cost is your food health. There was nothing in the budget documents that spoke about how much the employee share was. I think it's important to know that. I don't know if you as a council know that. But if you don't know, you should ask questions. And the other thing that has increased significantly is the retirement account. This is what we paid into main PERS for the police and fire and other employees, and the other is the ICO retirement, which is 470 plan. So in mind when you're looking at the budget and that's those questions.
Thank you. Anything else on personnel? No, move along to the airport. Any questions on airport?
I was out at the airport here a while ago, Stu. I returned to see that the fuel pump was broken.
Yeah. And that involves a pilot, metering, section of the pump, plant and pumps. The meter and. Last week, the PM.
Now, who sets the price? Five lower.
Yeah.
$6 a gallon, price of diesel. So we got around $7.
We kept that, approximately $1 and $1 price. Although.
You know, I think we should be a top who's going off with. I'm talking about revenue.
Dave?
had Councilman Pennington been at our last meeting last week, you would have learned that we just, with this new part that is gonna be just the price yourself. That's something there.
Prior to that, I would have. They would come and do it for them. They would think. So now we have. So we're doing it on time. No, to fix it, I did tell them. We also found out because of that service level, that apparently they just no longer fly the security requirements. Waiting for these.
Do you have any idea what that ballpark price may be?
We haven't given you that, the only comparison we can give you is word of mouth and. Created it. The pump itself, pump is fine. Once we get that, then we need to. I've asked for both prices, so we can be buying for one.
Thank you.
Anything else for the airport? No, thank you. Move on to debt service. Any questions, concerns on debt service? No? Capital improvements. Any questions on capital improvements, comments?
Is this where we have, we're putting in, 150, I believe, for the fire truck, is this under this? Or is that going separate?
Usually that would be under the capital improvements, even if it was set aside into a reserve account.
I thought that was one of the things that we were.
Yeah, still not there.
Still not in there.
There was, line number 0380, I believe, for $175,000.
Did you say that? Did you say that account number again?
I think it was 0380. It might have been 0308. My old book home. 08. 175,000.
175 or 150?
175.
175. So my smidge I talked about earlier is off by $175,000 because that was missing. 0360. Thank you, Charles.
Mr. Chairman, I see that the ambulance leads. Now, is this gonna be, that's gonna be an ongoing payment, right? 72,000 on the new ambulance? Is that part of debt services?
That would be part of debt service,
Okay.
the payment.
Yeah. So it's just about ship.
Anything else on capital improvements?
Is Lauren still here? Lauren, I thought we left your door in. 6,000. That's another error. Oh, 0700, that's 6,000.
We didn't take that out.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to 5-year capital plan. We don't. We have Kevin? You know why we don't have the 5-year capital plan? Anybody? That wasn't a question for the audience. Yeah. Okay, so next week we should have something in there. 5-year capital plan. Okay. All right, well, we should have that so that.
Yep.
I put this on my computer, so I can make adjustments. So with 175,000 additional in the capital budget means that the manager's request comes out to right at 2% of an increase instead of a half.
We could put the 6,000 also for the hybrid door.
Wouldn't that go in capital improvement also? Yeah, just make it 2.07.
Okay, and tip budget. Anything on tip budget?
There's a voting equipment department request for 500. And then I don't see anything. Is that something that we need?
Honestly, I'm ready to wait a bit. Okay. If you have an actual 5 years. Usually the bigger years I have more in there because I might need more for security or something like that, for like a presidential. But off year, I got a couple of things last year that we needed that people could use, so I'm fine with all of it. But I will be putting some back in it at a later date. Same with my records restoration. I'm just put that on the back burner for now.
That's where the library is still going to be.
Right.
It'll get carried over.
Hope next year to have a better, more secure way of, put in numbers that not so many people have access to. Because even this morning, Sean had come to me and say, hey, I need to get this up online, so he went in and put it up somehow over the weekend. When I left on Friday to when I came in on Monday, the last column, what you guys voted on, put in the budget, that all got filled in. I have no idea how it wasn't like that when I left. But these numbers that seem to be changing are not putting in. It's like somebody's going in and messing with a formula or something, so I need to be able to find a way of
making it so once it gets set to where it is, I can lock it and nobody else can get into that until it needs to be revised because of these meetings or whatever.
In the meantime, one thing you can do is on your own computer is save a copy of it to a file and nobody else has to make.
Yes, that's a good idea. I will do that.
Dave?
And I'm actually taking a step back. I hope that's okay, because it kind of goes along with what Wayne said. Capital improvement. Are you in fact asking for 396,175?
I'm not even sure I've seen the capital improvements, to be perfectly honest with you.
That's what I have here in this part. And the only
It's,
reason,
it's not in the most recent updated one that we did that we got ready for this past Friday.
Yeah.
The other book was done, it's not in my book. Wait a minute, the 5-year plan, that what you're talking about?
no, I'm sorry, I'm going back to capital.
I'm sorry, forgive me. I thought you were talking about the 5-year
Oh.
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Between what I,
I want to get the first page, first tab, capital. All right, so start your question again. Let me see if I can answer it better this time. Public Works.
I think I'm kind of surprised. My page is different than Steve, so I guess I'm not gonna worry about it.
Okay.
By about 600,000.
Wow, that's a big difference.
600,000.
Yeah. What was your?
The total. 928,07. But that doesn't include the 100.
Oh,
So now it's over now because of the 175,000. So we'll get updated pages for next week.
I thought I just found like 600,000 extra here. That- Easy come, easy go.
So what are you asking specifically? Just so I
Updated
know.
pages for our book for next week.
Yes,
The only page that I.
which is
see
this under this capital one with
is
the
capital
0360 for the fire, for the 175,000 and the 6,000 being brought over for the library door. Am I missing anything else on the capital?
I think I just probably got an old page, because I got really excited because the total manager request for 2027 is 396,175.
Okay.
We don't have the tip budget. We don't have the tip budget.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in the back of the book here, I'm looking on page 3. And it says rehab for dozer, $25,000. Do we warrant using that dozer to put 25 grand in it? Do we use the bulldozer over there enough to justify putting 25 grand in it? Now, I looked at it, it just appeared to me, the undercarriage looks good, you know, just the tracks need to be tightened and. Now you're talking just cleaning it and painting it? Well, that's cheaper than 70,000 for a new one. And then as far as the pickup, Mr. Chairman, you used to pick up the house record for 25,000. I mean, if it only needs rocker panels, we can go out and fix the rocker panels for $3 grand. You know, so-
whole lot more than just rock.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, we ought to take it down to Chad or somebody and give an honest assessment. of What it needs to be done.
We have multiple times, and you can go over it now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, do we have anything else for the capital improvements? Or 5-year, we don't have 5-year capital, we don't have a tip budget either.
No.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
So.
The only. I understand that, Mr. Watson. Mr. Chairman, the only thing I'm saying is we ought to look at every avenues going forward because I mean, I bought a truck for a couple in Florida. I did the work myself, $4,200 work. And it's a $9,000 truck. So I'm saying you can repair it. You know? You can repair something. No, I got a 1945 Willys. There's a 1945 Willys over the museum that hadn't run since 1988. Yeah, it's just that there are some things that cost more to repair than to, you have to pick out, decide which.
I'm gonna put it to you this way, the reason that we're in this position with this truck right now is because we bought it when it could have not been bought. It had problems from the get-go. Yes, some problems could have been fixed, but years ago, before I was here, they were not. So now we have an even bigger problem. It not only needs a new motor, it needs rocker pants. Yes, that's not a hard fix, but that's not the problem. The frame is just about rusted through. Ford Brothers is the one who pulled us all of that. The transmission is just about out of second gear. So you're basically talking about repairing everything on that truck. If you do that, you might as well buy a brand new, or at least one, like I proposed to you at this previous meeting, was never voted on. It was within my budget to have it. So I'm the same truck.
I think moving forward, Mr. Chairman, if we need to replace it, a brand new half-ton two-wheel drive would be sufficient, and then if we maintained it properly every year, if something was going bad or if it was neglect, then we could cross that road then. We don't need a 3/4 ton, possibly four-wheel drive.
We do need a 3/4 ton. Half-ton truck is not sufficient for hauling 3 motors and or a tractor. Or a dump trailer.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
This is discussed at length at the budget committee. What we found would have been a great solution was if every year you put $5,000 in the budget to replace the pickup truck that's used by the public works job, which is a 3/4 ton. Then after 3 or 4 years, you have another to replace that truck. You would know what means they've gone through it, and it was another 4 or 5 years. That's a week.
Okay, thank you. Dave.
I have a question. I think it was just mentioned that a 19-year-old drives this pickup, is that correct? Okay, so we're talking about, we need a 3/4 ton because we're gonna haul a trailer with equipment. Is that a prudent thing to have a 19-year-old to be driving?
The properly trained on it. He is. Before I got here, he prohibited on it. But last year, once I got here, I worked with him and others on proper training, how to clean out full trailers, take care of it, that type of stuff. And he was dramatically improved. So
Is this type of training documented?
me and Justin are working. Yeah.
I have a concern with a 19-year-old driving a
Okay,
town
but that
owned-
doesn't have to do with the actual truck itself.
I did it.
Okay, you get put.
For George. Just thinking outside the box, so if this is a foolish question, feel free to laugh at me, but the piece of equipment, what is that, a dozer?
Cat over.
Okay, the dozer. The painting aspect, the sandblasting and the painting, is that something that we could get the students at the vocational school to do? I was just curious. I actually spent never mind.
Yeah, we don't need to know. Charlie?
B5, B3. Keep outside of B4. That's what we did with the break.
Anything else? Item 4.
So moved.
All in